Chapter 3901, Stalemate. Several elemental liches took action in succession, but there were no heavenly phenomena or punishments. Lin Moyu had the sword Dao Lich strike with half its strength. The sword light slashed through the void and struck the shield, bursting with dazzling brilliance. The world remained unchanged. The sword Dao Lich increased its power to 70%, still with no consequences. This confirmed that this region was indeed different. There would be no heavenly punishment here. Elemental liches can't use their full strength because doing so would disrupt the balance. If they don't exert full power, or only target beings below the Dao Lord level, the heavens won't punish them. But where the physics great Dao exists, it restricts the heavens, and these technological creations, though as strong as Dao Lords, aren't true Dao Lords. They're just machines with Dao Lord level power. Not just them, the entire celestial god civilization is like this. They aren't recognized as true Dao Lords by the world. So against them, the elemental liches don't need to hold back. His intent instantly reached the 4 elemental liches. The elemental liches cheered. The sword Dao Lich, the most impatient, transformed into a sharp sword, teleported across the void, and slashed through the battlefield, landing heavily on the celestial god civilization's shield. The shield boomed and vibrated, radiating streams of light. Countless instruments inside the celestial god civilization worked to support the shield, forcibly withstanding the sword Dao Lich's assault. But this was just the beginning. The sword light erupted, and the sword Dao Lich's body became a rain of swords, bombarding the shield. The blood Dao Lich raised a crimson wave, polluting the shield and weakening its power. The true fire Lich waved its little hand. Fire, rise. Although the celestial god civilization's people aren't recognized by the heavens, they were born and raised in this world, and their true spirits exist within it. The true fire Lich burns true spirits, a deadly weapon against them, especially since their cultivation is weak, so they die even faster. The shield couldn't withstand the true fire Lich's flames. Screams rang out as large numbers of celestial god people died. The true fire Lich only burned the celestial god civilization's people, not those in the celestial god realm. There were Dao Lords there, and she didn't dare provoke them. The space Dao Lich also erupted, no longer hiding itself, shouting loudly, "Space sever." In an instant, space within the celestial god civilization's world shattered, countless buildings reduced to dust. The space Dao Lich rampaged through their world, and the 4 elemental liches coordinated seamlessly. After devastating a large area, the space Dao Lich teleported directly in front of the causality weapon. Just as it was about to strike, space suddenly turned viscous. The space Dao Lich managed one attack before instantly teleporting away. The causality weapon burst with dazzling light. As the celestial god civilization's most important weapon, it was heavily defended. The space Dao Lich's attack broke its defense, tearing a huge hole, but failed to destroy it. The celestial god civilization used a space weapon to turn the area into a swamp, restricting the space Dao Lich's teleportation. If not for its quick reaction, it might have been trapped. A swarm of robots flew over to repair the causality weapon. By making space sticky, the celestial god civilization prevented both sides from teleporting, forcing a direct confrontation. Lin Moyu knew this was a desperate move. They hadn't anticipated the space Dao Lich could invade their home and nearly destroy their causality weapon. The space Dao Lich returned to Lin Moyu, proudly presenting over 100 crystals. "Master, look what I found." Lin Moyu patted its little head. "Well done. Keep going. Try to break that shield." The space Dao Lich agreed and charged back in, but with space affected, its power was weakened, making it less effective than the other elemental liches. The true fire Lich said, "Master, they're hiding. I can't burn them." Earlier, the true fire Lich had burned a group of celestial god people, but they quickly hid, making it impossible to target them. The peak of technological civilization truly had all sorts of tricks, making even Lin Moyu feel challenged. Lin Moyu said, "Go deal with the celestial god realm. Just burn those below the Dao level." The true fire Lich nodded and attacked. Invisible true fire ignited, and the extraterritorial celestial gods screamed in agony. Once invincible and nearly impossible to kill on the origin continent, they were now utterly helpless before the true fire Lich. Many extraterritorial celestial gods fled, escaping from the celestial god realm and racing toward the celestial god civilization's core. Normally, the celestial god civilization could use space technology to help them escape, but now, with space locked down, they could only fly. Countless bodies littered the void, casualties were immense. Suddenly, space returned to normal. To save their people, the celestial god civilization had to lift the lockdown. As soon as they did, they used space technology to teleport their people away. A wave of humanoid battle machines teleported into the undead army, self-destructing and causing massive casualties. But the undead instantly revived, rendering the self-destruction pointless. Another group of battle machines teleported near the space Dao Lich to self-destruct, not to kill it, but to pin it down and prevent it from infiltrating their base. The space Dao Lich formed a spatial defense, entered an independent space, and blocked the explosions. The celestial god civilization's tactic worked. The space around the space Dao Lich became extremely chaotic, successfully pinning it down and keeping it out of their core. The battle returned to a stalemate, both sides evenly matched, unable to break the deadlock. Lin Moyu frowned. The celestial god civilization was producing battle machines at an astonishing rate, over 100,000 per second. The material consumption was staggering, but they didn't seem to care. Although a war of attrition favored him, Lin Moyu still wanted to end things quickly to avoid unforeseen complications. Let's take out the celestial god realm first. He dispatched another 100 billion undead servants, bringing the total on the battlefield to 500 billion, half his summoning capacity. All of them charged the celestial god realm, determined to destroy it. With the stalemate dragging on, Lin Moyu decided to cut off one arm first, destroy the celestial god realm, then focus on the celestial god civilization. He was ready for a prolonged fight, but would still act ruthlessly to save time. The celestial god civilization saw through his plan and teleported a massive wave of battle machines to intercept the undead, working with the Dao web to block them. The undead, now experienced, quickly dispersed to minimize losses. Some were stopped, but half reached the edge of the celestial god realm. The world will of the celestial god realm swung its giant hand, sweeping away huge numbers of undead. Wings sprouted from its back, formed from the world's Daos, slashing like weapons. The undead didn't care. As they closed in, they self-destructed. Lin Moyu sneered, self-destruction. I can do that too. 3902. 3902. Chapter 3902, The Will of the Great Dao. The self-destruction of the undead servants unleashed a force 10 times stronger than their most powerful attack, shaking the void. The world will was blasted into chaos, its wings sprouting from its back blown off. Lin Moyu wore a cold smile. It wasn't that he couldn't use self-destruction, he just hadn't wanted to. When an undead servant self-destructs, it loses the chance to revive, otherwise, even after dying 10 times, it could return in the chaos region and never truly die. Now, with self-destruction, they were truly gone and would have to be resummoned. Lin Moyu didn't want a drawn-out war of attrition, so he chose to have the undead self-destruct. Seeing the effect, he decided to add more fuel to the fire. Origin spell. Strengthen troops. Finally using an origin-level spell, a strange aura spread out, causing the undead servants' combat power to soar. Boom! A terrifying wave of self-destruction began. With the origin spell's boost, the undead's explosions became even more devastating. The world will of the celestial god realm was left in a miserable state. Even the powerful extraterritorial celestial gods couldn't approach the self-destruction zone. Getting close meant certain death. The undead servants lined up, continuously self-destructing to attack the world will. This tactic was strikingly similar to the celestial god civilization's use of humanoid battle machines. The world will twisted under the onslaught, nearly collapsing. The world-burning fire took the opportunity to burn even fiercer, drastically shortening the time needed for refinement. The celestial god civilization finally panicked. The celestial god realm was a world they had painstakingly evolved. They couldn't just watch it be destroyed. The physics great Dao rumbled, and the entire celestial god civilization's world began to shine. Lin Moyu heard murmurs, as if countless beings were praying and chanting. Indeed, if he could see through, he'd witness celestial gods and their divine pets prostrating themselves in devout prayer. Within these voices, Lin Moyu sensed a surge of faith power. He himself possessed immense faith power, so he couldn't be mistaken. Faith power. The celestial god civilization is praying. But what are they praying for? He was certain the celestial god civilization wouldn't waste effort. If they were all praying, something significant was happening. As the faith power soared, beams of intense light shot from the celestial god civilization toward the celestial god realm. Any undead servant struck by the beams was instantly frozen and shattered. Another weapon hidden within the celestial god civilization revealed itself. The beams lingered in the void, forming walls of ice that not only froze everything but also blocked the undead's advance, giving the world will a breather. Undead servants reached the ice wall and self-destructed. The massive force cracked the wall, but it instantly repaired itself. The sword Dao Lich charged in, transforming into a blade and slashing at the ice wall. In a flash, millions of sword strikes shattered the wall. Working with the undead, the sword Dao Lich dismantled the ice wall in less than a minute. The celestial god civilization fired again, but the space Dao Lich split open a spatial rift, diverting the attacks elsewhere. The undead servants once more reached the world will and self-destructed. The celestial god civilization's tactics only bought a minute. The prayers grew louder, echoing through the void, as the physics great Dao shone brightly. An immense pressure filled the air. In an instant, the void froze space, time, everything except thought seemed to halt. A terrifying giant appeared above the physics great Dao. The will of the great Dao. Lin Moyu was shaken for the first time. The physics great Dao had actually manifested a will. He quickly realized something was off. The great Dao itself had no will. Instead, the celestial god civilization had manipulated the Dao. After countless years, they had fused the will of all living beings into the Dao, using it as a shell to evolve a Dao will. Lin Moyu's expression grew grave. I didn't expect this. It's not true eternity, but in this region, it can unleash eternal level power. This must be their strongest trump card, and the cost must be high. They wouldn't use it lightly. If there were no cost, they'd have used it from the start. Still, this showed Lin Moyu the potential of faith power. If they could do it, so could he. The myriad worlds had even more living beings than the celestial god civilization. If he could gather the faith of all beings and fuse it into a Dao, he could also evolve a Dao will. But he'd have to pick the right Dao. For now, the myriad worlds weren't suitable. There were many Daos, but each being comprehended their own, and their faith was scattered. Only by focusing the faith of countless beings on a single Dao could a Dao will be formed. I want to create a multiverse. I must obtain this physics great Dao. Lin Moyu's resolve only grew stronger. The myriad worlds appeared, using its world power to resist the Dao will. The immobilized undead army regained its mobility and resumed self-destructing attacks. The Dao will was a double-edged sword when it appeared. Even the world wills of the origin continent became sluggish. At this moment, as the undead servants charged, the Dao will couldn't react in time. Explosions rang out as the undead continued to self-destruct. The celestial god civilization must have been surprised that Lin Moyu could still move. The Dao will swung its giant hand. With just that motion, the entire void seemed to shatter. Rule. Slow speed. A majestic voice rang out, and the undead servant's speed instantly dropped. The physics Dao will redefined the rules of this space, and the undead were restricted. Even with the myriad worlds supporting them, they could only barely keep moving. Rule. Self-destruction radius reduced by 1,000 times. With another command, a new rule took effect. The rules were so specific even down to the area of a self-destruction. Lin Moyu realized this was entirely aimed at restraining the undead. I get it now. Rules can't be set arbitrarily. The broader the rule, the higher the cost, possibly to an unbearable degree. Nothing escapes balance, even the great Dao must maintain iron laws. To gain, one must pay. The Dao will formed ahead, with a single eye that locked onto Lin Moyu. Die. With that one word, Lin Moyu exploded on the spot, without sensing anything. In the next instant, he revived in a flash of purple light. The Dao will's attack was bizarre, just a word, and Lin Moyu died instantly, without any resistance. Dao will is so powerful. It seems those great Dao lords are the same. Compared to them, I'm still too weak. But Lin Moyu didn't panic. With a thought, red light surged from his body and bone hell was recalled. Seeing Lin Moyu revive again, the Dao will looked over and said, die. Again, red light flashed. Bone hell shattered, and Lin Moyu died once more, exactly as before, with no chance to resist. Revived again in purple light, Lin Moyu was not at all flustered. In fact, he smiled. An empty soul crystal appeared in his hand. Die. Corpse explosion. 3903. 3903. Chapter 3903. Victory. The auto-locking ability of Bone Hell was still as effective as ever. Using Bone Hell's power, Lin Moyu easily locked onto the Dao will. Normally, the Dao will does not have a physical form. It is a construct of Dao power and is extremely difficult to target. But this Dao will before him seemed different. Lin Moyu had never seen a Dao will before, but based on his experience and understanding of world wills, he could deduce some things. From his understanding, it's not impossible for a Dao to develop its own will, but it's extremely difficult, and the heavens may not even permit it. If a Tao ever does develop will, it is bound to be an eternal existence, incomparably powerful. Furthermore, a Tao will should not have a physical form, it is a convergence of Tao power, almost without weaknesses. But the Tao will before him was born from the faith power of all beings in the celestial God civilization. Since that's the case, there must be a core that carries this faith power. This core is the fatal weakness of the Tao will, and it must be hidden extremely deep. For ordinary people, whether or not this weakness exists makes no difference. But for Lin Moyu, it was something he could exploit. What Bone Hell locked onto was precisely this core, the only part of the Tao will that could be targeted. The empty soul crystal turned to powder and vanished, the spell succeeded. The Tao will suddenly froze, and then a terrifying explosion swept through the entire Tao. The detonation of the empty soul crystal was enough to injure even an eternal. For this fake Tao will, it was a sure kill. The Tao will let out an unwilling, miserable scream as its form was obliterated by the blast. This scream came from the countless beings of the celestial God civilization. The faith power they had gathered was destroyed in the explosion. Countless celestial God people died from faith backlash. Lin Moyu saw innumerable souls annihilated, and deathly stillness fell over the celestial God civilization. The explosion swept through the Tao, rebounding on the celestial God civilization. Countless buildings collapsed, countless weapons were destroyed. The once mighty shield dimmed and then vanished, destroyed in the blast. The celestial God civilization was devastated, nearly shattered. All the rules they had set vanished instantly. The undead servants seized the opportunity and stormed into the celestial God civilization. The space Tao Lich exerted its full power, opening space channels and sending the undead inside. The undead rampaged through the celestial God civilization's world, turning it into a wasteland. At this moment, the power of a Tao Lord was unleashed without restraint, destroying one small world after another. Even the celestial God civilization couldn't hold out for long. Against the celestial God realm, the undead servants resumed their self-destruction tactics. The world will, which had just caught its breath, was once again blasted full of holes. The outcome is decided, Lin Moyu muttered to himself, but he didn't let his guard down. After all, the celestial God civilization was the pinnacle of technological civilizations who knew what tricks they might still have left. Just as this thought arose, a flood of intense light appeared within the celestial God civilization, with devices emerging from underground. With a soft sound, these devices fired countless beams that sliced through space and the undead servants alike. As expected, they still have tricks, but it's useless. After reviving, the undead continued their destruction, smashing these devices to pieces. Boom! Violent explosions erupted throughout the celestial God civilization's world. Under the invisible shockwaves, the undead servants died again and again, only to revive once more. The physics Great Tao restricted the undead greatly, making them quite fragile, but their endless revival made them like undying cockroaches. Faced with enemies that could revive endlessly, the celestial God civilization's conventional methods were powerless. Billions of undead armies surged into the celestial God civilization. True catastrophe had arrived. Despair engulfed the celestial God civilization, and the world will of the celestial God realm was also nearing its end, its will collapsing and becoming formless. Let's do this. The 24-winged extraterritorial celestial God, after long silence, finally erupted with a roar and a resolve to die, charging at Lin Moyu. At the same time, a gigantic statue floated up from the celestial God civilization, transforming into a 26-winged extraterritorial celestial God and attacking Lin Moyu as well. The 26-winged statue seemed to surpass the Tao Lord level, but it was still a bit short of that realm. And it couldn't last long if it could. The celestial God civilization wouldn't have waited until now to use it. Lin Moyu shook his head slightly. It's useless. The sword Tao Lich transformed into a Tao sword, unleashing a fierce sword light. The statue blocked in front, using its body as a shield. Radiant light flashed on its body, and the sword light left many wounds, but failed to destroy it. The space Tao Lich shouted, "Space lock." Space was sealed, and their speed slowed drastically. What was once a 1-minute distance now became 10 or 100 times longer. The space Tao Lich controlled space, preventing them from closing in. The statue's wings vibrated, and intense radiance slashed through space, forcibly tearing it apart. Lin Moyu waved his hand, sending out endless undead servants to form battle formations as meat shields, while he slowly retreated, widening the distance. Lin Moyu's undead seemed inexhaustible, driving his enemies to despair. No matter how hard they fought, they could never reach Lin Moyu. Aside from causality weapons, nothing could harm him. But even if they did, so what? No matter how many times they killed him, Lin Moyu could revive. Their last resistance was destined to be futile. The world will of the celestial god realm finally collapsed, returning to a void state. Without the world will, the celestial god realm's end was near, the world-burning fires refining accelerated, and in less than half a month, the celestial god realm would be completely refined. Under the rampage of billions of undead servants, the celestial god civilization's world was nearly destroyed. Their world was deeply fused with the physics great Tao, and some places were so intertwined that cleaning them up would take time. Through the undead servants' eyes, Lin Moyu saw countless corpses of celestial god people. Most of these corpses remained seated, having been killed by faith backlash. The price was truly steep. Lin Moyu murmured, in destroying the Tao will, at least half the celestial god people died, a price far too great for what they gained. The resistance of the celestial god people grew weaker and weaker, and even the last sparks of resistance were quickly snuffed out. The outcome was already decided, now it was just a matter of time. The undead servants reached the causality weapon and destroyed it, eliminating the last threat capable of harming Lin Moyu. With the causality weapon gone, the statues used as the price for its use all collapsed together, not a single one left. The slaughter lasted several days, until the celestial god civilization was completely razed to the ground. In the void, the 1,000 statue warriors that had been locked in stalemate with the undead army stopped functioning the moment the intelligent brain was destroyed. The 26-winged statue, surrounded by the undead army, fought for days until its energy was exhausted and it finally ceased moving. The 24-winged extraterritorial celestial god was the strongest of them all, even stronger than the undead servants. In the end, the undead sent him off with a self-destruction. The battle was completely won. The celestial god civilization and the celestial god race had been wiped out. Lin Moyu felt a weight lift from his heart. With a wave of his hand, he issued a great command. Soon after, countless undead servants brought over the corpses of the celestial god people. Lin Moyu waved his hand, and a surge of undying fire erupted. Infinite Summon, 3904, 3904. Chapter 3904, The Void Beyond the Myriad Worlds. Within the undying fire, the deceased celestial god people began to revive. Among them were cultivators and celestial god scientists alike. Lin Moyu didn't bother to distinguish between them, it didn't matter. Over 10 million revived celestial god people prostrated themselves before him. Lin Moyu asked, among you, who has the deepest knowledge of technology? Stand up. As soon as he finished speaking, several people stood up. Lin Moyu had them introduce themselves. They spoke in technical jargon that Lin Moyu didn't understand but sounded impressive nonetheless. In short, they were all top scientists in their respective fields. At the pinnacle of technology, there are countless specialized domains. These fields are independent yet all fall under the physics great Tao, requiring collaboration to create all kinds of top-tier weapons. After some questioning, Lin Moyu confirmed that all the leading scientists of the celestial god race were present just as he wanted. Next, Lin Moyu instructed them to search the ruins of the celestial god civilization for any remaining usable data. Having the celestial god people look for data themselves was far more efficient than sending undead servants. Now came the real task. Lin Moyu needed to research how to extract the physics great Tao. He wanted to bring the physics great Tao into the myriad worlds and had several ideas, though he wasn't sure if any would work. Before that, he needed to make some changes to the myriad worlds. The myriad worlds was still primarily a cultivation world. Though it contained many Taos, none were particularly strong. The physics great Tao it currently possessed was only in embryonic form and didn't significantly affect the other Taos, so Lin Moyu could simply place it in an isolated region. But if the true body of the physics great Tao entered the myriad worlds, things would change. The other Taos would be suppressed, possibly hindering their development. The myriad worlds might not grow stronger, but weaker. After careful thought, Lin Moyu came up with a new vision for the myriad worlds. If space can be manifold, why not the myriad worlds? He could create a duplicate of the myriad worlds, identical in structure but with different internal rules. One myriad worlds would focus on cultivation, another on technology, and perhaps even a third combining both paths. He even had a name in mind, the multiverse. Within a multiverse, he could create different myriad worlds with different rules in different regions. The challenge was how to keep these worlds separate and ensure they didn't interfere with each other. Lin Moyu pondered but couldn't immediately find a solution. Looking at the massive world tree, he thought of the chaos seedling absorbing power in the chaotic world. Little tree, can you contact the chaos seedling? Little tree appeared before him. Sure, that guy is right on my leg. Lin Moyu said, ask it for me, I want to duplicate a new world. He explained his idea in detail to Little Tree, who replied right away, no need to ask it, I can do it myself. Lin Moyu was surprised. How? Little Tree tilted his head and frowned for a long while. I remember I can do it, but why can't I recall how? This is strange, I clearly know the answer. His little face scrunched up as he tried hard to remember, but couldn't figure it out. Lin Moyu realized this was a memory Little Tree hadn't recovered yet. Maybe after fully maturing, he really could do it, but not now. Don't think about it, just ask the chaos seedling. Lin Moyu interrupted, worried Little Tree would get stuck in a mental loop. Little Tree agreed and relayed Lin Moyu's request to the chaos seedling. A moment later, the chaos seedling's voice came from Little Tree's mouth. Master, you're so silly. Just wrap the myriad worlds in chaotic energy. Lin Moyu was taken aback. That's simple. The chaos seedling, through Little Tree, replied, that's simple. Lin Moyu continued, I want to bring that great Tao into the myriad worlds. Any good ideas? The chaos seedling said, Little Tree should be able to do it. Little Tree resumed speaking. Master, I can try, but I can't guarantee success. Lin Moyu nodded. Give it a try. Before that, I'll duplicate a world. Duplicating a world isn't easy. Lin Moyu had to open up a new space outside the myriad worlds to house the new world. Billions of undead servants formed a circle in the void, creating a protective barrier. Lin Moyu's soul descended into the myriad worlds, greeted by an indescribable sense of belonging. The entire world, all its Taos, welcomed him. It was the world calling to its master. With a step, Lin Moyu reached the world's edge, pulled open a rift, and flew out. Outside the myriad worlds was a void, nothing at all. This was his first time leaving the myriad worlds. He wasn't in the soul void, but another unfamiliar realm, the world in which the myriad worlds existed. This realm felt like a swamp. Lin Moyu found it hard to move, and a powerful sense of loneliness swept over him, his strength ebbing away like the tide. Having left his home realm, he was neither in the real world nor the soul void, and had also left the myriad worlds. Lin Moyu felt unanchored, as if he could get lost at any moment. If he did, everything he'd worked for would be lost. A nameless fear and loneliness assaulted his soul, testing his Tao heart. His first instinct was to return to the myriad worlds. The gate was just 3 steps away. But Lin Moyu didn't move, suppressing his inner fear and loneliness, confronting them with his Tao heart. Time passed, and Lin Moyu remained motionless. After a while, his lips curled into a charming smile. Surrounded by fear and loneliness, he didn't retreat, instead, he used them to temper his Tao heart. His Tao heart grew stronger and sharper, shattering fear and loneliness, and the void before him brightened. With fear gone, even loneliness became a kind of enjoyment. Lin Moyu reached out and drew forth the mighty power of the myriad worlds. All the strength he'd lost returned in an instant. He pulled out chaotic energy from the myriad worlds, which enveloped him, forming a link between himself and the myriad worlds. As long as the chaotic energy remained, he wouldn't get lost. Lin Moyu pressed forward, slowly advancing through the swamp, and found a spot beside the myriad worlds. Yin-Yang origin, create. With a thought, he drew on the yin-yang origin within the myriad worlds, gathering streams of power. Light appeared in the void. 3905. 3905. Chapter 3905, Creating a New World. At the dawn of the world, at the origin of all things, there is the yin-yang source. Using the yin-yang source from the myriad worlds as the foundation, Lin Moyu gathered yin and yang anew, forming a new yin-yang source in the void. As the power of this source steadily grew, Lin Moyu withdrew his force when he felt it was sufficient. All around, the void pressed in, and an invisible power engulfed the newborn yin-yang source. Like a stone sinking into the sea, the yin-yang source vanished instantly. Failed. Lin Moyu realized that duplicating a world was not as easy as he had imagined. Even just the step of establishing the yin-yang source was not simple. He carefully sensed the void. It felt thick and muddy like a swamp, yet also surged like ocean waves. The entire void was unstable. Although his attempt failed, that didn't mean it was impossible. The myriad worlds was right there, the best example. Lin Moyu reflected on the birth of the myriad worlds. Although the yin-yang source is the beginning of all things, the appearance of the myriad worlds did not rely solely on it. The myriad world's predecessor was his own rule world. The rule world merged into the great world, and only then did the yin-yang source arrive, injecting new vitality and elevating it to the myriad worlds. There was a process of ascension. Could it be that I need to create a world embryo first? Acting on this thought, Lin Moyu tried again. He used the power of the myriad worlds to create a miniature world. This world was tiny, only large enough to contain himself. He succeeded quickly, but as soon as he withdrew his power, the world shattered. Directly creating a world doesn't work either. Let's try both at once. Lin Moyu tried again, this time introducing the yin-yang source while creating the world embryo. This time, the new world lasted a few seconds longer before shattering again. Still not working. Where's the problem? Lin Moyu was sure his idea was sound, he just wasn't doing something right. Looking at the chaotic energy surrounding him, a flash of insight struck. He suddenly realized his error. That's it, the foundation of a world isn't the yin-yang source, but chaotic energy. All things arise from chaos. While the yin-yang source is the beginning of all things, it too comes from chaos. Chaos is the root of all heaven and earth, the first and the last. Grasping this truth, Lin Moyu spread chaotic energy over an area of the void. The chaotic energy gradually dispersed, becoming thin but still able to linger without dissipating. Then, within this chaos, Lin Moyu created a world embryo and infused it with the power of the yin-yang source, forming a new yin-yang source. The world embryo was born, the yin-yang source shone within, and chaos enveloped the world from without. When Lin Moyu withdrew his power, the pressure of the void rolled in, but the chaos blocked it all. The world remained unharmed. Success! Lin Moyu's face lit up with joy. He had created a brand new world. Though it contained nothing yet, the sense of accomplishment was immense. With the world embryo formed and the yin-yang source established, the next steps were strengthening and replication. Lin Moyu used part of his mind to control the yin-yang source and the world's power, accelerating the evolution of his tiny new world. The new world grew stronger, and the world tree's branches reached out, following the chaotic energy into the new world, bringing its first spark of life. At this moment, Lin Moyu's attention turned to the myriad worlds. For the first time, he stood outside his own world, observing it from beyond. Why can the myriad worlds survive in the void, but the new world cannot? Is it because the myriad worlds is strong enough? As he examined it, Lin Moyu noticed something odd. Invisible forces in the void constantly battered the myriad worlds, yet it stood firm. It wasn't just the myriad world's strength, the world tree also played a crucial role. The world tree spread throughout the myriad worlds, forming a protective shell. Together, they withstood the constant assaults of the invisible power. But the impact was always there, and in this ongoing struggle, the myriad world's growth rate was being suppressed. As the myriad worlds grew stronger and larger, the pressure it faced would only increase. Sooner or later, both the world tree and the myriad worlds would reach their limits. This sudden experiment with creating a multiverse made Lin Moyu realize this, and he also discovered the solution. The chaotic energy from the great world spread out, gradually enveloping the myriad worlds. Only a thin layer of chaos was needed to easily block the invisible assaults. Lin Moyu couldn't help but marvel at the wonder of chaotic energy. Now, as the myriad worlds continued to grow stronger and the Taos intertwined, the amount of chaos increased and could fully supply the myriad worlds' needs. Not only that, but it could also support the creation of new worlds. With the combined efforts of several factors, the new world rapidly spanned eons in a short time. The yin-yang source stabilized, the structure of the new world became firmer, and the next step was to evolve the Taos and nurture life. But Lin Moyu had another idea. Evolving a world suitable for life was too slow, and nurturing life even slower. It would take at least 1,000,000 years. Even if he used the time Tao to accelerate time 10,000-fold, it would still take 10,000 years or more. He couldn't wait that long, he'd only lived so long himself. So Lin Moyu chose a simpler method, migration, and a wholesale one at that. Within the myriad worlds, there were countless tiny, minor worlds. These minor worlds were small and weak, but at least complete. Some had already given birth to life, some had even begun cultivating, while others were still in their primitive stages. Lin Moyu picked 10 minor worlds that hadn't yet begun cultivation. With a thought, the will of the myriad worlds descended, and all life in those 10 worlds froze in time. Then Lin Moyu began the migration, moving all 10 minor worlds into the new world, making them its first inhabitants. Other than the yin-yang source, there were no Taos in the new world, so the inhabitants couldn't embark on the path of cultivation. Lin Moyu didn't intend for them to cultivate anyway. This world was destined for the path of technology. As the master of the myriad worlds, Lin Moyu decided the fate of countless beings with a single thought. In his view, this was fair. He had the right and the power, and if they couldn't resist, they had to obey. The 10 minor worlds settled into the new world, time resumed, and the beings within never even realized anything had happened. Of the 10 worlds, 3 were human, and the other 7 were of different races. Lin Moyu had deliberately chosen this for biodiversity. Alright, next is to migrate the Taos in. 3906. 3906. Chapter 3906. The Sleeper Within the Physics Great Tao. Lin Moyu's soul returned to find that the revived celestial god people had already come back. Many of them were holding crystals containing the technological data of the celestial god civilization. Lin Moyu told them to wait aside. It wasn't their turn yet, as he still had unfinished business. These people had an important role to play in his multiverse plan. He glanced at the celestial god realm. Its refinement was nearly complete, just a few days away from being fully refined. Creating the new world had taken quite a bit of time, but overall, it was still fairly quick. The celestial god civilization's world had already fused with the physics great Tao. Lin Moyu tried to refine it with world-burning fire, but found it impossible, so he had to give up. The next step was to move the entire physics great Tao into the myriad worlds, and then transfer it from the myriad worlds into the newly created world. Standing before the physics great Tao, Lin Moyu felt his own insignificance in the face of its immense power. The oppressive force was enough to make any Tao lord feel suffocated. This Tao was strong, exceptionally strong. Lin Moyu activated the projection of the myriad worlds to confront the physics great Tao, then said to Little Tree, it's up to you. Little Tree replied, "Don't worry, Master. Watch me drag it in." In the projection, countless branches extended and wrapped around the physics great Tao, growing wildly and binding it tightly. With a shout, Little Tree began to exert force to drag the Tao. The physics great Tao rumbled and began to move. The ruins of the celestial god civilization on the Tao collapsed again, becoming even more dilapidated. Many branches snapped from the strain, but Little Tree grew new ones even faster. The branches covering the Tao multiplied and thickened. The physics great Tao started to shift, albeit extremely slowly, toward the myriad worlds. The power of the world tree once again amazed Lin Moyu. It could even drag a great Tao. What couldn't this little fellow do? Still, it was a tremendous effort. Moving such a powerful Tao was no easy feat. The rules around the physics great Tao were being rewritten, and Little Tree had to constantly adapt. Fortunately, the myriad worlds already had an embryonic physics great Tao, which helped offset some of the effects. Otherwise, things would have been even more troublesome. Lin Moyu cheered Little Tree on, but for now, all he could do was watch. At the current rate, it would take at least 10 days or half a month to finish dragging it. 2 days later, the celestial god realm was fully refined, becoming a world crystal. Once a world that could rival the origin continent, it had now fallen. Holding the world crystal, Lin Moyu could still feel its lingering warmth and immense power. Compared to the Lycong world, a cultivator's world was much more suitable for the growth of the myriad worlds. Why does my karma with the celestial god race still exist? Lin Moyu was puzzled. The celestial god realm was gone, and the celestial god civilization destroyed, yet his karmic connection to the celestial god race remained. Not only that, it was still strong, as if the karma was right before him. Lin Moyu became alert. Karma does not lie. If it exists, it exists. This meant the celestial god race was not extinct, there was at least one survivor. Moreover, this survivor could manipulate karma and was very powerful. Suddenly, his soul sent a warning. Lin Moyu shouted, "Get back!" Little Tree instantly withdrew its branches, and Lin Moyu also retreated. Who dares disturb this god's slumber? With a deep voice, the physics great Tao rumbled, and all the world tree branches that hadn't yet withdrawn shattered simultaneously. The ruins of the celestial god civilization collapsed for a third time, turning to dust. A terrifying pressure swept out, chilling Lin Moyu to the core. He immediately retreated, withdrew the myriad worlds projection, and with a wave, collected all the revived celestial god people. He didn't want them harmed. They were crucial to his multiverse plan. The undead servants instantly assembled, with hundreds of billions arrayed in the void, ready for battle. The pressure intensified, crashing like a storm, surpassing the limits of a Tao Lord and seeming to approach another level. A great Tao Lord? Lin Moyu wondered. No, it doesn't seem like it. There's no eternal aura. Lin Moyu's first instinct was that a great Tao Lord had arrived, but it didn't feel quite right. It was weaker than a true great Tao Lord. Most importantly, there was no eternal aura. All great Tao Lords have a unique aura that comes from fusing with the Tao after achieving eternity. But this being, though strong, lacked that aura. Suddenly, a giant hand burst from beneath the ground of the physics great Tao, slamming onto the earth with terrifying force that obliterated everything within 10,000 miles. The hand propped itself up, cracking the ground, and a giant climbed out from beneath the earth. He was actually inside the Tao itself. Beneath the ground was the Tao. Lin Moyu hadn't expected a hidden existence within the Tao itself. This being was clearly a celestial god, yet when the celestial god race was wiped out and the celestial god realm refined, he hadn't appeared. Only now, as Lin Moyu tried to move the physics great Tao, did he awaken. The giant slowly stood atop the Tao, spreading magnificent wings behind him. Unlike other celestial gods, his wings were completely different. They should be called plumes, not wings. The plumes radiated rainbow light, stunningly beautiful. He had 16 pairs of wings, 32 in total. The previous 26-winged celestial god statue was already as strong as a top-tier world lord. But a statue is still just a statue, not a living being, merely a war machine. This being, however, was a living 32-winged celestial god. His gaze locked onto Lin Moyu. You're the one who disturbed this god's slumber. Who are you? Lin Moyu called out, completely unafraid. The other's gaze was as sharp as a blade. He sneered, an ant like you dares ask this god's name. Lin Moyu felt increasingly uneasy. This being kept referring to himself as this god, and was frighteningly arrogant. Couldn't he see that the celestial god civilization was destroyed and Lin Moyu was the enemy? Suddenly, Lin Moyu thought of a possibility. Are you the celestial god race's progenitor? Would a technological world even have such an existence? Wasn't that something only cultivation worlds had? Lin Moyu wasn't certain, but this fellow was no fake. He radiated an ancient aura so ancient that Lin Moyu felt even in Yuan wasn't as old. The being looked around, then at his feet, then closed his eyes to sense. He muttered to himself, all the celestial god people are dead. I can feel it. The bloodline is completely severed. He slowly opened his eyes. To think I slept so long that, upon waking, all my descendants are dead. It must be your doing, ant. So you're strong, but still just an ant. What should I do with you? Keep you as a pet, or crush you outright? I've slept so long, maybe it's time to stretch my limbs and see how the world has changed. Having a new pet doesn't sound so bad. Ant, I'll give you a chance. Kneel and beg for mercy, and I'll spare your life and keep you as a pet. He seemed to be talking to himself, but also to Lin Moyu, his eyes full of mockery. He didn't take Lin Moyu seriously at all. 3907. 3907. Chapter 3907, God of Light. Arrogant, proud, disregarding all beings, and ignoring Lin Moyu. This was the impression Lin Moyu had of him. Lin Moyu felt he was somewhat conceited, but it seemed he had the strength to back it up. Aside from eternal beings like An Yuyan and the human emperor, this guy was the strongest Lin Moyu had ever encountered. He wasn't eternal, but was infinitely close to it. Lin Moyu thought. Those great Tao lords who failed to send their Taos into the origin land are probably at about this level. However, he couldn't tell what Tao this being cultivated. He'd only know once they truly fought. Lin Moyu wasn't afraid. Even if he was a great Tao lord, as long as he wasn't eternal, there was still a chance to kill him. Even if he were eternal, he could be beaten into silence. After all, the Lord of Time was a perfect example. Lin Moyu frowned and said, did you wake up confused? You want to make me your pet, but I don't even know who you are. At least tell me your identity and how strong you are. He didn't attack immediately. Lin Moyu wanted to get some information from this being. As the progenitor of the celestial god race, having slumbered within the physics great Tao for countless ages, he was far more ancient than anyone else. Such a person must have a wealth of information worth digging out. The key was, he didn't seem very bright. He seemed a bit muddled from his long sleep and actually answered Lin Moyu, and, since you ask so sincerely, I'll tell you. I am the Lord God of Light, the Master of the Light Great Tao, and I will one day become the Master of the Physics Great Tao and achieve eternity. Do you know what eternity is? At your level, you wouldn't understand at all. Become my pet, and I can show you a different world. His tone was supremely arrogant, even more so than before. So he really is a great Tao Lord of the Light Tao, Lin Moyu thought. If I remember right, the Light Tao is a branch of the broader Light Great Tao. The master of a branch Great Tao is strong, but still far from eternity. Lin Moyu mused that among Great Tao Lords, those who mastered branch Taos and those who mastered origin Taos were not the same. At the very least, a branch Tao Lord could not send their Tao into the origin land and achieve eternity. All the Taos in the origin land are origin Taos. Lin Moyu guessed that it was because he knew he couldn't achieve eternity through the Light Tao that he now sought the physics Great Tao. But didn't he know the origin land was already full? Still, a branch Tao Lord shouldn't be this strong. He was infinitely close to eternity, and felt even stronger than some origin Tao Lords. Seeing Lin Moyu silent, the Lord God of Light assumed he was stunned. Arrogantly, he said, "Afraid, aren't you? You're just a minor Tao Lord, countless steps away from becoming a great Tao Lord. You'll have to fight many Tao battles and could die at any time. Follow me, and I'll take you through Tao battles and help you become a great Tao Lord." Lin Moyu thought for a moment, then asked, "If you're so strong, why did you create the celestial god race? The race you created was so weak that even an ant, like me, could destroy them." The god of light replied, "I was slumbering here and needed someone to guard me, so I created them. They turned out to be useless, so weak." Weak. Lin Moyu didn't think the celestial god race was weak. At their peak, even this progenitor might not have been able to defeat them all. Lin Moyu continued, "But why did you slumber here? You're the Lord of the Light Tao, but the physics Tao doesn't seem to match you." He already suspected the answer, but asked anyway to confirm it. The God of Light sneered, his tone changing, "How could a mere ant understand what I'm doing? Now that you know who I am and how powerful I am, kneel and beg for mercy, become my pet." He wasn't stupid, just not fully awake, so he wouldn't reveal too much. His tone was now like a final ultimatum. Lin Moyu sighed, "I don't want to be your pet. How about we compromise? You've slept for so many years. Now that you're awake, go see the outside world. I won't trouble you, but this Tao belongs to me." This wasn't a compromise at all. It was telling the God of Light to leave the Tao behind and get lost. The God of Light's expression changed dramatically. Courting death. Lin Moyu quickly retreated and waved his hand, sending hundreds of billions of undead servants to attack. An ant dares to resist. The God of Light roared. His wings burst with dazzling light, illuminating the void. The light was like swords, instantly killing over 100 million undead servants. Against a great Tao Lord, the undead servants were powerless. Lin Moyu knew this was normal. A true master of a Tao could fully wield its power, of course they'd be strong. There are countless worlds and countless Tao projections, but only one true master of a Tao. To a great Tao Lord, undead servants were indeed like ants. Lin Moyu muttered, "But even ants, if there are enough, can kill an elephant." The just killed undead servants revived on the spot and attacked the God of Light with all their might. The undead army spread out, attacking from all directions. The God of Light was always shrouded in a faint radiance. The undead servants' attacks could not break through it. This light was like the protective divine light of the extraterritorial celestial gods. As their progenitor, he was the true source. Anything the celestial gods could do, he could do better. Lin Moyu saw that this radiance was essentially Tao power. He was using the true body of his Tao to protect himself. For the undead servants to break through, that was extremely difficult. The space Tao Lich waved its little hand, opening space channels and sending huge numbers of undead right next to the God of Light. The undead instantly began self-destructing, causing earth-shattering explosions in the void. The recently restored void was once again shattered. The self-destruct attacks seemed to have some effect. The God of Light's protective radiance finally began to distort. Lin Moyu was secretly pleased it was possible to fight him. As long as the self-destruction continued, the defense would eventually break. As the protective radiance was shaken, the God of Light's arrogant and indifferent expression finally changed. "I didn't expect you could shake my divine light. You little ant are stronger than I thought. I'll give you one more chance. Swear now to become my pet, and I'll spare your life." Lin Moyu sneered, "Actually, I have plenty of ways to kill you, but I'm too lazy to bother. My offer still stands. Leave now and I'll spare you." Of course, he knew the God of Light would never agree. He was just provoking him. Sure enough, the God of Light's eyes filled with rage. "In that case, go die." A brilliant light blazed, shining like a sun. The protective radiance grew even stronger, harder to shake. But Lin Moyu wasn't worried. He kept up the explosions. He had endless undead servants, and could keep fighting and summoning more. They would never run out. The True Fire Dao Lich and Blood Dao Lich attacked together. Blood surged, True Fire burned. 3908. 3908. Chapter 3908. 500 billion against 1. The two elemental Dao Liches didn't use their full strength at first. Lin Moyu wasn't sure if going all out against the God of Light would draw heavenly punishment, since the God of Light was a great Dao Lord recognized by the heavens. But since the celestial god race was his descendant and fighting them didn't bring retribution, Lin Moyu reasoned that fighting him likely wouldn't either. Still, the will of heaven is hard to fathom, so the two elemental Dao Liches started at only 40% power, planning to ramp up if there was no backlash. Crimson blood surged in massive waves, polluting the God of Light's protective divine radiance and weakening it noticeably. True fire directly burned at the God of Light's true spirit, causing him indescribable pain. Crimson blood great Dao, true fire great Dao. The God of Light cried out in disbelief. These two Daos were extremely rare, and he was shocked anyone could wield them. Only now did he realize he had underestimated Lin Moyu. You little ant, you're actually interesting. I've changed my mind. I won't kill you, I'll capture you and study you. There must be secrets on your body. With that, he turned into a streak of light and charged at Lin Moyu. Countless undead servants were blasted away, shattered to pieces, but even more rushed forward, forming a living shield for Lin Moyu. Surrounded by endless undead, the God of Light's speed slowed. He was encircled by 500 billion undead servants, trapped with no way in or out. He erupted with blinding light, unleashing devastating attacks that slaughtered undead servants by the millions. But every time they died, they revived instantly. There was no end to them. The Space Dao Lich worked in perfect sync, constantly teleporting undead servants to optimal positions for self-destruction. For a moment, even the God of Light felt overwhelmed, roaring in frustration as he lost his former arrogance and composure. He realized Lin Moyu was not so easy to kill. At this point, the Crimson Blood Dao Lich and True Fire Dao Lich increased their power to 50%, breaking through the threshold for heavenly punishment. No punishment, either the heavens don't recognize him, or it's due to the physics great Dao's influence, or both, Lin Moyu thought. In that case, let's go all out. He ordered the two liches to ramp up further, and the little ones cheered, attacking with even greater force. The Sword Dao Lich joined in, transforming into a sharp blade and stabbing at the God of Light. The Space Dao Lich also struck, using the Space Great Dao to try to tear him apart. Even at full power, there was still no heavenly punishment. This reassured Lin Moyu. 4 Dao Liches, each as strong as a great Dao Lord, were his trump cards. With all 4 attacking one target, the God of Light was in real trouble. He might be infinitely close to eternity, but he was still only a great Dao Lord. Roaring, the God of Light activated the physics great Dao, which began to suppress all other Daos. Both the undead army and the 4 elemental liches were affected. The myriad worlds projection appeared in the void, using its own power to offset the physics great Dao's influence. Seeing the myriad worlds, the God of Light's expression changed drastically. What is that thing? Lin Moyu smiled lightly. Something that can kill you. The myriad worlds was Lin Moyu's own independent world, completely different from this universe, with its own Daos and rules. Naturally, the God of Light didn't recognize it, but as a great Dao Lord, he could sense its extraordinary nature. With the myriad worlds present, the physics great Dao's suppression was greatly weakened. The 4 elemental liches attacked at full strength, joining the undead army in besieging the God of Light. Only now did he realize he was in real trouble. Forget killing Lin Moyu, he couldn't even escape. In his eyes, Lin Moyu should have been an ant he could crush at any moment, yet now, protected by an endless swarm of ants, he was a headache to deal with. The God of Light roared, "Let's see how many of these little trash you have." He burst with even greater radiance, transforming into a blazing sun. 16 pairs of wings beat furiously, firing beams of light into the void. The beams were deadly. Any undead servant they touched was instantly annihilated. It was unimaginable. Dao lords who ruled their own worlds, who hunted Dao beasts in the void, were now being killed like nothing before a great Dao Lord. It made Lin Moyu realize how much more powerful someone like the human emperor must be. Killing the God of Light would be nothing to him. Kill, kill, kill. The God of Light went berserk, but it was useless. The undead servants kept dying and reviving, their numbers never diminishing. Even after dying 10 times, they'd be reborn in the myriad worlds and return to battle. Lin Moyu hadn't even sent out all his undead, only half. 500 billion against 1, for the God of Light, this was more than enough. Watching from afar, Lin Moyu saw that the God of Light couldn't even get close to him. With the space Dao Lich around, he couldn't even shatter space to escape. The sword Dao Lich led the charge, clashing head-on with the God of Light. The true fire Dao Lich's flames tormented him, while the crimson blood Dao Lich's power polluted his divine light, staining it with blood and making it less pure. The God of Light felt his power weakening, realizing it was due to the crimson blood great Dao, but he was helpless to stop it. It's easy to invite a god, but hard to send one away, he thought. If he'd accepted Lin Moyu's offer to compromise, things wouldn't have come to this. But he knew he couldn't give up the physics great Dao, it was the foundation of his path to the Dao. There could only be one survivor in this battle. Lin Moyu watched, thinking, looks like I won't need to use the empty soul crystal. He only had 3, and had already used 2 against the Dao will, using another would be a waste. They were hard to get, and asking Emperor Chen Zhong for more would come at a steep price. So if he could avoid using it, he would. As things stood, the God of Light would eventually be worn down, it was just a matter of time. The God of Light's strength faded, polluted by the crimson blood Dao and tormented by the true fire, his mind growing increasingly disordered. Lin Moyu smiled, the situation was only getting better for him. Moments later, the God of Light suddenly retracted all his wings and shrank his massive body. 3 seconds later, he stretched out violently, shattering the void and revealing a deeper layer of space. The shadow of the origin ancestral land appeared. Lin Moyu was startled. He wants to escape to the origin ancestral land. A great Dao Lord can enter the origin ancestral land at any time, not just in normal circumstances but also in moments of danger. The God of Light was trying to use this method to escape. 3909, 3909. Chapter 3909, The World of the Science Dao. Just as Lin Moyu expected, the God of Light used his full power to open a passage to the origin ancestral land. He was going to enter the origin ancestral land. Lin Moyu had no way to stop him and could only watch helplessly. Letting a tiger return to the mountain would bring trouble later, but for now, Lin Moyu had no solution. The God of Light shouted angrily, I lost this battle, but one day, you will die by my hand. With those harsh words, he fled into the origin ancestral land in a rather sorry state and disappeared. The undead servants who tried to pursue him were all pushed back by an invisible force and couldn't follow. The void closed like a door, and the origin ancestral land vanished. A few elemental liches flew back, chattering, Master, he actually ran away. What a coward, Lin Moyu chuckled, it's fine, I'll kill him sooner or later. Against such beings, if you can't kill them in one blow, you have to be ready for them to escape. With the karmic connection, they would inevitably meet again for another battle, but by then, Lin Moyu would be even stronger, and killing him would be easier. As for the God of Light, his path had already reached its end. The moment he left, he would never again have the chance to step into eternity. Looking at the physics great Dao, Lin Moyu said softly, Little tree, get to work. Little tree had been ready for a while. Countless branches shot out and wrapped around the physics great Dao, once again dragging it. The physics great Dao rumbled constantly, moving bit by bit toward the myriad worlds. As Lin Moyu watched the physics great Dao slowly move, he reflected on what the God of Light had done. He had become a great Dao Lord through the Light Dao, and at that point, he must have realized he could never achieve eternity. A branch Dao can never enter the origin land. Even if there had once been space in the origin land, he'd never had a chance. So he sought new opportunities. There is always a sliver of hope in the world, and the God of Light was lucky enough to find the physics great Dao. The physics great Dao was not in the origin ancestral land, but it was a true great Dao, and its true body was right here. The God of Light must have sensed its power and believed that if he could become its master, he might reach eternity. Even if he couldn't, his strength would likely rival an eternal. In the end, it was all about the pursuit of power. He slumbered within the physics great Dao, somehow obtained a world, merged it with the physics great Dao, and created the celestial god race. The celestial god race grew and evolved within the physics great Dao, eventually becoming a technological civilization, the strongest technological civilization. The reason the God of Light created the celestial god race was because he walked the path of cultivation and didn't understand the physics great Dao, so he couldn't comprehend or cultivate it himself. His cultivation path was too deeply ingrained to change, so he created a new race to learn and comprehend it for him. The celestial god race never knew they had a progenitor, and all their research became the foundation for the god of light's understanding of the physics great Tao. With their extraordinary talent and the advantage of living within the physics great Tao, the celestial god race quickly rose to the pinnacle of technological civilization. But even then, they found themselves at a dead end and continued searching for a way forward. They discovered that there was a broader world outside, but technology could not stray too far from the physics great Tao. So they found a way to obtain a new world and sent their people into it, away from the physics great Tao, eventually forming the celestial god realm. The celestial god realm's path of cultivation, combined with the celestial god race's technological civilization, was their attempt to break through. Even when Lin Moyu destroyed them, the god of light was still asleep, completely unaware until Lin Moyu started moving the great Tao and woke him up. As he said, the celestial god race was just a tool, unimportant to him. The physics great Tao was his true foundation and could not be lost. The celestial god race's countless years of research all became nourishment for the god of light, bringing him ever closer to mastering the physics great Tao. But Lin Moyu knew that the god of light could never achieve eternity through the physics great Tao, because that's not what it was for. This Tao contained too much information. As a single Tao, it nearly encompassed the functions of all Taos and set countless rules. The true use of the physics great Tao was to be placed in a blank slate world, which would then become a technological civilization. Lin Moyu believed there was a path forward for technological civilization. The celestial god race just hadn't found it. As expected, after dragging for a full 6 months, the physics great Tao was finally pulled into the myriad worlds. The moment it entered, the entire myriad worlds shook. All the Taos seemed to resist, but the true body of the physics great Tao was too powerful. The Taos within the myriad worlds were too weak in comparison, so their resistance was negligible. Just as I thought, if I really put the physics great Tao in the myriad worlds, all the Taos would be affected. My world would become a muddled mess, and neither technology nor cultivation would reach the peak. Lin Moyu confirmed his thinking. The physics great Tao could not coexist with cultivation-type Taos. Little Tree didn't stop, dragging the physics great Tao along the chaotic energy out of the myriad worlds and into the new world. Not just the true body, but the embryonic form was also brought along. With the true body present, the embryonic form was fused into it, and the process went smoothly. Another half-year passed, and the physics great Tao officially entered the new world. This new world was a blank slate. Aside from 10 small worlds and a not very strong yin-yang source, it had nothing. The physics great Tao's entry caused no disruption. Under its influence, the yin-yang source would no longer evolve other Taos. Even if it did, they would only be technological Taos according to the rules set by the physics great Tao. From now on, this world would be a pure technological world. Lin Moyu realized that the reason the celestial god race couldn't reach the peak was that the physics great Tao, being in the world, was still affected by cultivation-type Taos and the world's rules. In his own new world, the physics great Tao would be the master of all rules and would surely reach the peak. Next, Lin Moyu placed tens of millions of revived celestial god people into the new world, officially giving them their task. Now as revived beings, they no longer needed to worry about lifespan. As long as Lin Moyu lived, they would not die. He instructed them to continue researching technology and to find ways to make their findings understandable to him, so he could learn from them. At the same time, they could help the 10 worlds as needed, guiding them through their most difficult periods. The celestial god race would become guides, leading the development of the new world according to Lin Moyu's will. When someone outstanding emerged from the 10 worlds, they would evolve into a myriad worlds, and eventually, the world would develop its own hierarchy. Lin Moyu named this new world the world of the science Tao, a world that pursues the Tao through technology. 3910. 3910. Chapter 3910. The longer it drags, the more troublesome it gets. Currently, the science Tao world is still very weak. It is connected to the myriad worlds through chaotic energy, and the myriad worlds will supply part of its power to the science Tao world to help it grow. Under the influence of the myriad worlds, the final structure and pattern of the science Tao world will be exactly the same as the myriad worlds. The multiverse plan has finally taken an extremely important step forward. Standing within the chaotic energy, Lin Moyu looked at the world he had created with his own hands, feeling a great sense of accomplishment. Although the myriad worlds had to allocate some of its power to the science Tao world, the discovery that chaotic energy could shield against the formless forces of the void meant that much of the saved power, after supplying the Science Tao world, was still left over. The growth of the myriad worlds is now faster than ever. The world crystal obtained from refining the celestial god realm was handed over to the myriad worlds for absorption, and thanks to its high quality, the myriad worlds grew even further after assimilating it. With a thought, Lin Moyu slowly opened his eyes and looked into the void. The great battle was over, the physics great Tao had vanished, and the void was recovering. Layer upon layer of spatial force surged like waves, pushing him out of the deep space layer by layer. Lin Moyu did not resist and gradually returned to the surface layer of space. This was the world's process of restoring space. The influence of the physics great Tao was fading, and all technological civilizations here would soon face a new set of rules. The rules of the cultivation Taos would quickly spread and replace those of the physics great Tao. Most technology would lose its effectiveness, though some might remain. Lin Moyu wasn't sure which would be kept. After some time, the living beings in these worlds might embark on the path of cultivation. Under the dominance of the world's rules, this was inevitable. Years later, the former light of technology would completely fade, becoming dust of history until it disappeared entirely. During this process, some worlds might wither, others might grow strong, such as the inevitable result of the world's evolution. Major environmental changes bring about survival of the fittest, with no alternative. Lin Moyu understood these principles well. These thoughts flashed through his mind. Now, standing at a higher vantage point, he saw things differently from before. Putting aside the changes in the world's pattern after the loss of the physics great Tao, Lin Moyu gazed into the depths of the void. There, amid the surging waves of space, a faint shadow flickered in and out of sight. It had no soul, no aura, yet truly existed. Its form of existence struck Lin Moyu as peculiar. Someone was hiding in the void, watching him. If not for the folding and changes of space, he might not have noticed the other party at all. Seemingly aware of Lin Moyu's gaze, and certain that Lin Moyu had discovered him, the other revealed a vague outline. Separated by tens of millions of miles, Lin Moyu saw a constantly twisting and changing figure. This being seemed to have no body, twisting with the space itself. A voice cold enough to freeze the soul slowly echoed, as expected of the one I chose. You're quite good, I'm very satisfied. With a burst of laughter, the figure vanished completely. Lin Moyu's expression grew grave. He already knew who it was, the Lord of Curses. This eternal who had slumbered for countless ages now intended to return, and had chosen Lin Moyu as his vessel. As for why, Lin Moyu had some guesses. Years ago, in the secret realm of the Great World, he had encountered a powerful figure from the Black Blood realm. To save his life, he used an origin spell, which drew an exclamation of surprise. That exclamation came from another layer of time and space. He had once seen a Black Blood Sword Saint cross time and space to attack him. It must have been then that the Lord of Curses took notice of him. Lin Moyu did not understand what form the slumber of an Eternal took, but he was sure the people of the Black Blood realm did not have the ability to attack him across time and space. If anyone did, it could only be the Lord of Curses. If I'm not mistaken, the Lord of Curses' will has already spread throughout the entire Black Blood civilization, including the Black Blood realm. And Yuyan never said exactly what kind of being the Lord of Curses is. He might not be human, might not even have a physical body, or his body might be ruined beyond repair. That's why he needs a new vessel, and because I have origin spells and great fortune, he's set his sights on my body. Lin Moyu considered all the possibilities, and with his current deductive power, he was almost certain of his conclusions. The only problem was, the Lord of Curses seemed to be reviving sooner than expected. It looks like I can't delay any longer. It's better to go now while the Lord of Curses hasn't fully recovered. It might be easier to deal with him. If I wait a few thousand more years, things could get much more troublesome. A sense of urgency welled up in Lin Moyu. He realized that resolving the crisis of the Lord of Curses was now a pressing matter. He hadn't planned to go to the Black Blood realm immediately, but now it seemed he had no choice. Lin Moyu comforted himself, then took out the power of karma given by an Yuyan and activated his karmic connection to the Black Blood realm to pinpoint its location. He also used the karma crystal given by the Golden Lion Tao Lord. Both pointed to the same place. Lin Moyu no longer hesitated and headed straight for the Black Blood realm. At the same time, he issued an order to the revived celestial god people in the Science Tao world, telling them to quickly restore control of the 1,000 statues and hand the authority over to him. Those 1,000 statues were extremely powerful, stronger than Tao Lords. Last time, it had taken 100 billion undead troops just to tie them down. They were the most brilliant technological achievement of the celestial god civilization. Now, with the physics great Tao in his possession and the world projection, these statues could be put to great use in his hands. He had a feeling that the Black Blood realm and Black Blood civilization would not be easy to deal with. Even if the Lord of Curses had only partially revived, his power might already surpass that of the celestial god civilization. But there was one advantage. With the physics great Tao gone, some of the technological weapons in the Black Blood civilization might have already lost their effectiveness. And since the Black Blood civilization's path combined cultivation and technology, their power would be greatly reduced. Lin Moyu continued to teleport through space, crossing infinite distances in a short time. The Celestial God civilization and the Black Blood civilization were in the Soul Void, in two different great spirit domains, separated by a vast distance. Even in the real world, the distance was just as great. I hope the Black Blood realm, like the Celestial God realm, returned to its homeland after being wounded. If not, that'll be a problem. The karmic connection pointed to the Black Blood realm, not the Black Blood civilization. If the two weren't together, he'd have to spend more effort. As Lin Moyu headed for the Black Blood realm, he formulated a simple and direct plan: kill. He had no idea how to deal with the not yet fully revived Lord of Curses, where he was, what form he existed in, or what actions he might take. He knew nothing. All he knew was that the Black Blood realm and Black Blood civilization existed because of him. So, he would simply kill them all. Besides, he already had a deep grudge with the Black Blood realm, one that would not end until one side was dead. He would leave not a single survivor, wipe them out completely, and the problem would be solved. 3911, 3911. Chapter 3911, Why So Weak? A month later, Lin Moyu still hadn't reached his destination. The world was simply too vast. Even with his speed, he couldn't arrive in an instant. He felt a bit envious of An Yuyan's speed. Despite being separated by infinite distance, she could arrive in a short time. If he could do that, things would be much more convenient. A great Tao Lord's speed must be related to the Origin Ancestral Land. The Origin Ancestral Land's projection covers the entire world, but the land itself isn't that large. Great Tao Lords probably move through the Origin Ancestral Land, which is why they're so fast. Compared to Great Tao Lords, the Discernment Beast's way of moving is even more direct. It breaks through the boundary between the real and virtual worlds, jumping from the Soul Void to the real world, then back again. Lin Moyu pondered, and his guess about both movement methods was almost spot on. Either way was better than his current method of repeated space jumps. But the method that would suit him best was another. When the myriad worlds could project itself across all existence, he could move anywhere instantly through it, whether in the real world or the Soul Void. He'd be able to go wherever he wished with a single thought. 2 months later, the revived celestial god people brought good news. They had developed a technological artifact that could control the 1,000 powerful statues. This artifact was palm-sized, pure tech inside but modified on the outside by the Taos of the myriad worlds, so it could be powered by soul force. Lin Moyu tried it and found it worked well. This technological artifact was like the one Xiao Zontian had once obtained, a fusion of technology and artifact. But now that the physics great Tao was gone, most technological artifacts in all worlds would eventually lose their function. Only a few special ones would still work, and even then, their effectiveness would be greatly reduced. By taking away the physics great Tao, Lin Moyu had changed some fundamental rules. But Lin Moyu didn't care about that. For the sake of greater strength, he wouldn't worry about the consequences. He continued space jumping for a full 3 months, using karma several times to adjust his course, with no idea how far he'd actually traveled. Finally, after 3 months, he arrived at the location indicated by karma. Even before getting close, Lin Moyu's expression grew grave. The world mist ahead was different. Everywhere else, the world mist was gray, but here it was a strange black-red. Black tinged with red, like blood so thick it turned black. Just looking at it, Lin Moyu's soul could smell the stench of blood. The scent pierced his soul, making it faintly ache. This wasn't ordinary blood, it was a mix of slaughter, evil, curses, corruption, and more. Disgusting, Lin Moyu muttered. He'd spent years dealing with corpses, undead, and curses, and his immunity to evil far exceeded most, but this still made him feel sick. He'd seen people from the Black Blood realm and knew what black blood was like, but he hadn't expected the Black Blood realm to be so intense. Other worlds dispersed the mist, but the Black Blood realm directly polluted it. He summoned the Crimson Blood Dao Lich. Take a look, how is this different from your Crimson Blood? The Crimson Blood Dao Lich's little face scrunched up in disgust. There's so much filth in there, it's unbearable. My Crimson Blood is pure pollution power, very pure, not like this filth at all. Can you tell what it is? Lin Moyu asked. The Crimson Blood Dao Lich shook its head. No, just that it's filthy beyond words. Lin Moyu muttered, Lord of Curses, is this the stuff your blood produces? As he spoke, he waved his hand and sent forth the world-burning fire, which turned into a sea of flames and began refining everything. Instantly, vast amounts of world mist were incinerated, the black-red mist retreated rapidly before the world-burning fire. The world-burning fire could refine worlds and burn away all filth and impurities within them. The polluted world mist ahead was the Black Blood Realm's territory, refining it posed no problem. The world-burning fire rapidly spread through the mist, burning ever more fiercely. 100 billion undead servants rushed out, quickly spreading through the world mist and forming a ring of encirclement outside the fire. Lin Moyu knew the Black Blood Realm too well. If he wanted to kill them, he couldn't let even one escape. Any powerful being from the Black Blood Realm, if even a single drop of blood escaped, could regenerate after countless years. They were impossible to kill off otherwise. He had to be extremely careful. He couldn't let even half a drop of blood escape. He summoned the Space Dao Lich. Set up a spatial isolation barrier around the Black Blood Realm. Nothing is allowed to leave, not even half a drop of blood. The Space Dao Lich obeyed, flying to the edge of the world and laying down the barrier. With its power, unless a great Dao Lord arrived in person, the barrier would be almost impossible to break. Still uneasy, Lin Moyu had the Crimson Blood Dao Lich add a layer of crimson blood outside the spatial barrier, creating multiple layers of defense. As the world-burning fire burned, the world mist shrank, and the undead army's encirclement tightened. The isolation barriers set by the Space and Crimson Blood Dao Liches remained unchanged, still enclosing the entire Black Blood Realm. After much of the world mist was burned away, the Black Blood Realm finally stirred. Lin Moyu saw clusters of soul flames appear in the mist. Black Blood Realm powerhouses were trying to escape. In the past, each Black Blood Realm opponent had given Lin Moyu a headache. They were powerful, formless, fiercely aggressive, and extremely hard to kill. But now, the ones emerging were only a few at the Great Dao Realm, most were just Dao Venerables, some even Heavenly Venerables. So weak it was completely beyond Lin Moyu's expectations. Screams echoed from the soul, and before they could even escape, they were burned to death and refined by the world-burning fire. They were turned to ash before they even saw their enemy, dying without knowing how. How can they be so weak? Lin Moyu wondered. Even if the Black Blood Realm was weakened, it should at least be on par with the Celestial God Realm. The world-burning fire kept burning, the area shrinking until all the world mist was gone and the Black Blood Realm was revealed. Lin Moyu's frown deepened. This world was simply too weak. Other than the world that had already perished and the one ruled by the Soul Heart King, this was the weakest world Lin Moyu had ever seen. How could the mighty Black Blood Realm be reduced to this? The world wasn't just small, even its strongest inhabitant was only a 7th grade soul at the Great Dao Realm. Even if he had taken away the physics Great Dao and changed the rules so that technological weapons no longer worked, it shouldn't have affected the Black Blood Realm this much. Lin Moyu sensed something was wrong, but couldn't figure out why. For now, there was only one thing to do: kill first, ask questions later. The world-burning fire blazed even more fiercely, beginning to refine the Black Blood Realm. 3912, 3912. Chapter 3912, Cloned Worlds. The Black Blood Realm was so weak that Lin Moyu found it incomprehensible. In just 2 days, the Black Blood Realm was refined by the world-burning fire, turning into a world crystal. The world crystal was very small, and the power contained within was extremely weak. Even after refining the Black Blood Realm, the world-burning fire barely grew at all. Every world contains some kind of substance that can help the world-burning fire grow, but in the Black Blood Realm, this substance was extremely scarce. Holding the world crystal and examining it carefully, Lin Moyu found that aside from its weakness, it seemed no different from other world crystals. Yet he had a vague sense that something was off. This world crystal was abnormal and shouldn't be absorbed by the myriad worlds. Trusting his instincts, Lin Moyu thought for a moment, then put the world crystal away instead of letting the myriad worlds absorb it. He wouldn't do so until he figured out the problem. It's over. The world mist surged in, reclaiming his vision. The Black Blood realm had vanished from the world. Lin Moyu felt an inexplicable sense of relief. It was almost unbelievable that the Black Blood realm could be dealt with so easily. It was too easy, and the Lord of Curses hadn't appeared. If he wasn't in the Black Blood realm, then he must be in the Black Blood civilization. But where was the Black Blood civilization? Lin Moyu thought he might have to ask An Yuyan for help. He was ready to pay the price. He still had plenty of desolate beast essence. Not only could he ask questions, but it should be enough to get An Yuyan to take action if needed. Just as he was about to call for help, Lin Moyu suddenly realized that his karmic connection to the Black Blood realm hadn't disappeared. The Black Blood realm was gone, so why did the karma remain? That didn't make sense. Karma doesn't lie. The only explanation was that the Black Blood realm still existed. He took out the karma crystal and activated it again. Sure enough, the karma crystal pointed in a direction and it wasn't far. There were still 2 uses left on the karma crystal, and fortunately, he still had plenty of karma power from An Yuyan, so he could keep searching. Following the indicated direction, Lin Moyu leapt through space. In just half a day, the black-red world mist appeared before him once more. It was another Black Blood realm. There was more than one Black Blood realm. Surprised but undaunted, Lin Moyu immediately unleashed the world-burning fire. The undead army repeated their tactics, encircling the world. The Space Dao Lich and Crimson Blood Dao Lich set up 2 layers of defense to prevent anyone from escaping. The world-burning fire blazed its way in, stirring up the Black Blood realm. Another group of Black Blood people rushed out, but the result was the same as before. These not-so-powerful Black Blood people were instantly burned to ash by the world-burning fire. They never even made it out. Once the world mist was burned away, the Black Blood realm was revealed. This Black Blood realm wasn't much larger than the previous one, almost identical in scale. Lin Moyu finally noticed something. This Black Blood realm, like the last one, felt very new. The aura of time is hard to change. New is new, old is old, and that's the mark of time. This world was far too new. It hadn't existed for more than 10 million years. For a world, 10 million years is brief, just the blink of an eye. In fact, that's barely enough time for life to emerge. Lin Moyu recalled the heavenly star world he'd encountered before, which had many clones, a product of their technology. The heavenly star world belonged to the Science Dao Alliance, which combined technology and humanity. All members of the Science Dao Alliance should have cloning technology, and as their leader, the Black Blood civilization's cloning technology should be even more advanced. Lin Moyu realized a possibility. The Black Blood civilization was no longer limited to cloning life. They had begun cloning worlds. Normally, a world isn't a living being and can't be cloned. But the Black Blood civilization was different. Controlled by the Lord of Curses, all their life forms and even their worlds had turned into Black Blood. From a certain perspective, the Black Blood civilization could be seen as a single living entity. If that's the case, then cloning a world made sense. Lin Moyu felt a chill. Cloning world, so what madness? At this point, he realized he wasn't so different. His creation of the Science Dao world was similar in principle. The only difference was that what the Black Blood civilization did was even more extreme. He had only created one Science Dao world, a copy of the myriad worlds. Who knew how many the Black Blood civilization had cloned? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. The thought gave Lin Moyu a headache. But at this point, all he could do was destroy each one he found. Following the karma line, the world would give him the answer. 2 days later, this, brand new, Black Blood realm was also refined and became a world crystal. He stored the world crystal away and continued searching for the next Black Blood realm using karma. In the days that followed, guided by the karma, he found one Black Blood realm after another and refined them all. In a year, he had refined nearly 100 Black Blood realms. Lin Moyu gradually noticed a pattern. The later Black Blood realms he found were bigger and stronger, with more and more powerful Black Blood people inside. The increase in strength was linear and regular. They grew steadily stronger. Lin Moyu realized the karma line led from the weakest to the strongest. The Golden Lion Dao Lord's karma crystal had long since been used up and turned to dust. Now he relied entirely on An Yuyan's karma power. Fortunately, the distances were short and the consumption minimal, so he could keep going for a long time. He stored all the world crystals he obtained, never refining them. He sensed nothing good would come of it, and decided it was better not to do so until he was sure. As the years passed, Lin Moyu went from being shocked to numb. He knew he couldn't let even a single Black Blood realm go. Even letting one drop slip away would be a disaster in the future, let alone an entire world. After 10 years, Lin Moyu had collected more than 500 world crystals. They varied in size, but all gave him a sense of unease, so he never let the myriad worlds absorb them. In 10 years, the Science Tao world, nourished by the myriad worlds, developed rapidly. The small worlds within it grew, and the number of living beings increased. The revived celestial god people, following Lin Moyu's instructions, passed down their technological knowledge and guided these worlds onto the path of science and technology. In the 10 small worlds, statues were erected in Lin Moyu's image, and he was honored as the god of science and technology. The revived celestial god people were called the envoys of the god. At the same time, the revived celestial god people continually translated technological knowledge into forms Lin Moyu could more easily understand, helping him grasp the general structure of the Science Tao. This made Lin Moyu realize how right he had been. Science and technology were different from cultivation. Cultivation required personal effort, but technology could be advanced by others. With guidance, later generations could progress incredibly quickly. Following in the footsteps of their predecessors was always faster than exploring alone. The Science Tao world was now on track, and with the myriad worlds supporting it, its development would be rapid. 10 years later, the Black Blood realm finally produced a Tao Lord. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I don't usually do this, but I'm facing some financial difficulties due to the challenging economic situation in my country. It's not easy to ask for help, but with over 3,000 of you reading this daily, I wanted to reach out. If you enjoy what I create and are in a position to help, any support you can provide would mean the world to me. Of course, there's absolutely no pressure. Your continued readership is already a tremendous gift. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and for being part of this amazing community. Also, if anyone wants to join my Discord URL, asterisk 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 3913 3913 Chapter 3913 What exactly is the Lord of Curses? Over the past 10 years, even the strongest among the more than 500 Black Blood realms was only a first-grade soul at the Great Tao realm. Now, at last, a Tao Lord had appeared, and the Black Blood realms were finally growing stronger. After 10 years, Lin Moyu could already deduce the pattern of the Black Blood realm's growth. Basically, every 100 Black Blood realms, their overall tier would increase by 1 level. Each leap in tier came with a rise in the strongest cultivators, realms, the world itself becoming stronger, and the speed of refining slowing down. From the initial Black Blood realms where the strongest were only 7th grade Soul Great Tao realm, to now, where Tao Lords had emerged. By this logic, the number of cloned Black Blood realms shouldn't be too high, the remaining number likely wouldn't exceed 1,000. Cloning worlds definitely isn't as easy as cloning living beings. Each cloned world takes time, and the pace can't be fast. So, the earlier a world was cloned, the stronger it is, the later, the weaker. It won't be long now, just a few more years and I'll have cleaned up all this trash. Lin Moyu didn't know what kind of being the Lord of Curses truly was, but in his eyes, the Black Blood realms were nothing but the trash of this universe, things that shouldn't exist. If the Black Blood realms continued as they were, in a few 100 million years, there might be endless Black Blood realms pouring out, with enough powerhouses inside to plunge any world into despair. Add in the Lord of Curses, and even the eternal beings might have to retreat. As much as he loathed the Black Blood realms, Lin Moyu had to admit that the method of cloning worlds was truly terrifying. The key was time, a very long time, measured in hundreds of millions of years. As the Black Blood realms grew stronger, the speed of refining them slowed. Now it took more than 10 days to refine one, and it would only get slower. Lin Moyu was mentally prepared for a protracted war, one that might last hundreds or even thousands of years. But the battle had begun, there was no turning back. At least, it was far easier than back in the Great World. He'd survived much worse. Now, even if it took more time, it was nothing. One Black Blood realm after another was found and refined in the world-burning fire. Lin Moyu didn't stop for a moment. Even as the Black Blood realms grew stronger, it made no real difference to him, it just took more time. 38 years later, the Great Gate in the Myriad Worlds let out a thunderous boom. The third halo fully solidified, shining with dazzling light that lasted several minutes before slowly fading. The gate rumbled, and a thought was transmitted. The gate could now be opened, but only at the basic level. The message from the gate explained that the basic level only allowed exploration of the basic area. To explore higher areas, more energy would need to be supplied. At this moment, countless undead servants were channeling the power of the myriad worlds into the gate, continuously supplying it with energy. The third halo had taken decades to solidify, the fourth would take twice as long, probably over a century. 100 years is acceptable, but what about the fifth and sixth halos? If each step only added 100 years, that would be fine, but Lin Moyu knew it wouldn't be so simple. The energy required would likely multiply each time. By this logic, the fifth halo would take 200 to 300 years, the sixth 500 to 600, and the seventh 1,000 or more, then several thousand, even 10,000 years. Time was one thing, there might be other requirements as well. Otherwise, back then, most powerhouses would not have opened the gate only at the basic level, with only a few at the intermediate level. Only the human emperor had ever opened the gate at the advanced level. As for perfect opening, no one had ever achieved it. Lin Moyu's original goal was to open the gate at the advanced level like the human emperor, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. As for perfect opening, he could only dream, even the human emperor hadn't managed it. Decades passed in the blink of an eye, and Lin Moyu now had over 700 world crystals. The Black Blood realms continued to grow stronger now, each world had at least several thousand Dao Lord level Black Blood beings. This wasn't the main issue, the real problem was that as the worlds grew stronger, refining them became far more time-consuming. Now it took more than a month to refine a single Black Blood realm, at best, 10 per year. And the process would only slow further. Throughout these decades, Lin Moyu kept a close eye on the Black Blood realms. The Dao Lords of the Black Blood realms were peculiar, they didn't comprehend any great Dao, and only came in two types, Sword Saints and Fist Saints, both wielding Black Blood power, yet possessing Dao Lord level strength. Lin Moyu suspected this was because their power came from the Lord of Curses. What kind of existence is the Lord of Curses, really? The Lord of the Curse Great Dao, but the Curse Dao I know doesn't seem like this. Lin Moyu himself had curse spells and had some experience with the Curse Great Dao, but the Heavenly Dao of Curses never gave him such a filthy feeling. On the contrary, the power of the Curse Dao was very pure at most, just a bit sinister. Puzzled, Lin Moyu continued refining Black Blood realms. The pace grew ever slower, eventually, it took 2 months to refine a single world. By now, the Black Blood realms were as powerful as the Celestial God realm he'd refined before, but Lin Moyu could clearly sense the difference. The Celestial God realm was a normal world, but the Black Blood realms were not. They were cloned worlds. No matter how strong they appeared on the outside, their core essence was weak. The world crystals produced from refining them were also inferior to those from normal worlds. It seemed cloned worlds lacked something fundamental. By now, more than 100 years had passed since Lin Moyu began refining the first Black Blood realm. He held nearly 1,000 world crystals, and even the karma power from a Nuyon was almost depleted. It's not far now, the stench is getting stronger, my revulsion is growing. I must be close to the main body. Lin Moyu wanted to see just how strong the main Black Blood realm was. After so many years of recuperation, had it fully recovered? The Black Blood realm's recovery ability far surpassed that of the Celestial God realm. A few more years passed, and the number of world crystals in his hand reached 990, just 10 short of 1,000. After another spatial jump, a thunderous roar reached his ears. A vast sea of black-red blood appeared before his eyes. The blood sea was boundless, its size unknown. Lin Moyu was stunned at the sight, involuntarily exclaiming, so big. This blood sea was so enormous it could hold hundreds or thousands of worlds. He couldn't see the end of it, and had the feeling it could swallow an entire great spirit domain. A sea of blood as vast as a great spirit domain, such a sight would shock anyone. Even the human emperor would be startled. The blood sea was shrouded in invisible force, extremely oppressive, and the void was locked down by this power. If not for seeing it up close, he would never have discovered its existence. It's possible that even those other great Dao Lords don't know there's such a blood sea here. Is this the Lord of Curses' blood? Blood turned to see what on earth is the Lord of Curses? From the Blood Sea, Lin Moyu sensed the power of the cursed Great Tao, pure, powerful, sinister. No one but the Lord of Curses could have blood containing such immense curse power. 3914, 3914. Chapter 3914, An Unexpected Result. I didn't expect you to actually find your way here. A gloomy voice suddenly echoed out. The voice came from the deepest part of the Blood Sea, rumbling throughout the entire sea. Lin Moyu couldn't pinpoint its exact location. The sound made him extremely uncomfortable, as if something was pressing down on his soul, an invisible pressure that made him feel innately suppressed. Amidst the booming, the Blood Sea surged and set off enormous waves, rising tens of thousands of miles high. Each wave was so vast that it could easily engulf an entire world. Within the waves, worlds appeared 11 in total, 1 enormous, and 10 relatively smaller. Black Blood Realm. Lin Moyu instantly recognized the largest world as the Black Blood Realm. The other 10, slightly smaller, were its clones. The 10 cloned worlds lined up in a row, each with a massive blood-red eye staring fixedly at Lin Moyu. The Black Blood Realm itself sat above them like an emperor, looking down on all. Lin Moyu said, "Lord of Curses, you haven't fully recovered yet, have you?" The Black Blood Realm suddenly changed form, transforming into a humanoid shape. A deep voice came from its mouth. "What do you mean by, fully recovered? Perhaps you misunderstand what recovery means." Lin Moyu replied, "You're the one who's mistaken. You chose me as your vessel for rebirth, but I'm still here, so you haven't fully revived. Or rather, without me, you can never fully revive." The Lord of Curses laughed coldly. "Did you hear that from the other great Tao lords? How can you be sure what they say is correct?" Lin Moyu was taken aback, then said, "True, no one can guarantee what they say is right, including you. That's why I only trust myself. My guess is, you can't kill me right now, or at least you don't want to." The Lord of Curses laughed even more wildly, his laughter stirring up waves and clouds of blood. "Wrong on all counts. Killing you is easy, for example like this." He flicked his finger, and a huge roar erupted from the Blood Sea, forming a massive vortex. Lin Moyu's body exploded instantly, dying on the spot. Bathed in purple light, Lin Moyu revived. His expression was extremely grave. He had just died, just like that. He hadn't even seen how the other party attacked, what method was used, or what technique was involved. He only felt the cursed Tao stir, a surge of curse power appear, and then he exploded. Is this the power of a great Tao Lord? No, this isn't the power of a great Tao Lord. I've seen their battles before. It's not like this. He must have done something to me earlier, which is why he could kill me. But this trick doesn't work forever. Lin Moyu's thoughts raced as he considered all possibilities. The most likely was that the Lord of Curses had tampered with him before, but he was too weak then to notice. The trick was related to the cursed Tao, so profound that he could never detect it. Now it was triggered, probably just to scare him. Though he had a guess, Lin Moyu's expression still showed a trace of panic, as if shocked by his sudden death. He asked coldly, "What do you want?" The Lord of Curses chuckled. "Don't you have a grudge against the Black Blood Realm? There are 10 left. Wipe them out and your vengeance will be complete." Lin Moyu frowned. "You mean these 10 cloned worlds? What about the main body?" The Lord of Curses laughed heartily. "The main body is me. You want to kill me? You can think about it, but you don't have the strength. They weren't wrong. You really are the vessel I chose. But you're still too weak, not qualified yet." It was clear the Lord of Curses didn't want to fight, and Lin Moyu suppressed his own impulse to act. He was now facing the Lord of Curses, not just the Black Blood Realm or Black Blood Civilization. He was confident he could destroy the Black Blood Realm and Civilization, but not the Lord of Curses. Even now, not fully revived, Lin Moyu had no confidence. Forcing himself to appear calm, Lin Moyu said, "You know, I'm also a reincarnated Great Tao Lord. Are you sure you can take my body?" The Lord of Curses suddenly burst out laughing. "Of course I know. The Immortality Tao, right? Do you think you're special? You are, because the Immortality Tao is special. But don't think that just because they call you a Great Tao Lord, you really are one. They know nothing, all arrogant fools who don't realize their paths were wrong from the start. So what if you're a Great Tao Lord? Once I've chosen you, you can't escape." His words were extremely arrogant, full of confidence. The Lord of Curses knew, as in Yuyan had said, that he had existed far longer than her. The Immortality Tao was indeed special in the origin land. Did the Lord of Curses know something more? Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, what makes the immortality Dao so special? The Lord of Curses chuckled. I know you like to fish for information, but I'm not so easy to trick. Still, I can tell you a little. In the origin land, there are supposed to be 20 Daos, but now there are 21. Which one do you think is extra? Of the 20 Daos, 8 existed when the origin land was born. Can you guess which 8? As for us Eternals, some are stronger, some weaker. Can you guess who's who? Though these sounded like questions, they were actually answers. The extra Dao was, of course, the immortality Dao, the most unique. 8 Daos existed at the birth of the origin land, the other 12 came later. Lin Moyu immediately thought of the 8 ancient, now silent great Dao lords. They were probably the earliest Eternals, the first to try to take that step. They all failed and fell silent. The Lord of Curses was one of them, so he had lived far longer than someone like an Yuan. Even among eternal great Dao lords, there were differences in strength, which explained why an Yuan was wary of the Lord of Curses. Maybe she'd even suffered at his hands long ago. But this still didn't answer Lin Moyu's question, why was the immortality Dao so special? He stopped expecting an answer. Maybe the Lord of Curses didn't know either. Lin Moyu said, let's talk about the Black Blood Realm and civilization. You said the Black Blood Realm is gone. Where did they go? Where is the Black Blood civilization now? The Lord of Curses smiled. You really are curious. Since you'll be my vessel one day, I'll tell you. The Black Blood civilization is the Black Blood Realm. They were the first stepping stone for my revival. I gave them power, they paid with their lives. It's fair. The 10 clones are the last traces of the Black Blood Realm's existence. You can refine them. Take your time, I'll go find another place to sleep. I hope you grow quickly. At least get rid of that trash's control first. Asterisk 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 3915 3915 Chapter 3915 Memories. The boundless sea of blood vanished right before Lin Moyu's eyes. He didn't even know how it left, it simply faded away until it was completely gone. Lin Moyu didn't try to stop it. At this point, he didn't know just how strong the Lord of Curses truly was and knew he wasn't confident in dealing with him. Since the Lord of Curses didn't want to fight, Lin Moyu decided not to act either, maintaining a bit of mystery on both sides. There was also much to ponder. Lin Moyu felt the situation was far more complicated and troublesome than he had expected. The 10 cloned Black Blood Realms remained, just as the Lord of Curses had said. He didn't want them, leaving them for Lin Moyu to play with. Well then, let's play. Since you don't want them, I'll gladly take them. Lin Moyu spoke softly, waving his hand as the undead army charged toward the cloned Black Blood Realms. Roar! A soul-shaking roar echoed out as 10 Black Blood Realms simultaneously manifested 10 world wills. At the same time, a vast number of black blood beings rushed out, sword saints and fist saints alike, all identical and all Dao lords, impossible to distinguish. The Black Blood Realms surged forward, their world wills transforming into generals, leading the Black Blood Dao Lord army to clash with the undead army. Lin Moyu's gaze was sharp as lightning. With the eye of the undead, he swept the battlefield. They may look the same, but there are still differences. These 10 worlds weren't born at the same time. There's a significant gap between them. The 10 world wills varied in strength. The strongest had just barely entered the fully formed stage, with a stable form and powerful aura. The weakest had only just entered the shaping stage. This showed that the birth times of these world wills were separated by a long span. Yet even the weakest, as a world will in the shaping stage, was enough to kill a Dao Lord. As the armies clashed, the 10 world wills led the way, sending many undead servants flying. Some undead were shattered, but quickly recovered. Compared to the celestial god race's methods, these 10 cloned Black Blood Realms, aside from the world wills, had little else worth noting. Large numbers of Black Blood Dao Lords were slain by the undead servants. Upon death, they turned into black blood and returned to their respective Black Blood Realms, only to re-emerge and fight again. But each revival left their aura weaker than before. There was a price to pay. With a thought, Lin Moyu summoned 1,000 celestial god statues, controlling them via technological artifacts. His multiverse projection appeared, with 2 worlds, one large, one small, manifesting. The Science Tao world's physics great Tao powered the celestial god statues, which charged into the battlefield, targeting the world wills. The moment the world wills clashed with the celestial god statues, they were suppressed. The statues' combat power was extraordinary, though a bit weaker than when controlled by the celestial god race, their numbers easily overwhelmed the world wills. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes, focusing on the strongest world will, which had entered the fully formed stage and was the most powerful among them. He's injured and hasn't fully recovered. If I'm not mistaken, he's the one who triggered the origin cataclysm. In that disaster, it wasn't the original Black Blood realm that appeared, but a clone. If multiple Black Blood realms had come, the fate of the origin continent might have been rewritten. Before Lin Moyu's arrival, these cloned Black Blood realms had all been submerged in the Blood Sea. The Lord of Curses seemed to be hiding something, never letting so many Black Blood realms appear at once. Lin Moyu also noticed that these 10 cloned Black Blood realms differed from the nearly 1,000 he'd refined before. They contained no impurities and their power was pure. The old Black Blood realms had been troublesome mainly because Lin Moyu had been too weak. Now, facing them, he found them much easier to handle, certainly easier than the Celestial God realm. The Black Blood Tao Lords were killed again and again, each time growing weaker until they finally died for good, unable to revive. The 10 world wills, suppressed by the celestial god statues, were wounded repeatedly until they collapsed. The world-burning fire appeared again, refining all 10 worlds at once. The 10 cloned Black Blood realms were powerless to resist, left only to await destruction. The whole process was easy, far easier than dealing with the celestial god civilization. The main reason for this was the Lord of Curses. It was clear he had abandoned the Black Blood realms, likely because they had lost their value. The world-burning fire blazed, like 1,000 giant fireballs shining in the void. No world mist surged in, the void was filled with the undead army, blocking all the mist. In the center of the army, Lin Moyu fell into deep thought. In his mind, past memories replayed again and again, not as fleeting flashes, but as a careful, detailed review, not missing a single detail. Before meeting the Lord of Curses in person, Lin Moyu had appeared calm on the surface, but inside he was shocked. The Lord of Curses seemed to know everything about him, that he could refine worlds, that he hadn't yet escaped the origin continent. Whether it was the world-burning fire or the true spirit imprint from the origin continent, these were secrets known to very few. The Lord of Curses couldn't possibly listen in on all worlds like the discernment beast, yet he knew so much. This meant he must have been monitoring Lin Moyu in some way. Lin Moyu believed it started when he was attacked by a Black Blood realm powerhouse and had to use his origin spell, which attracted a cross-time attack from a Black Blood realm expert. This was when the Lord of Curses took notice. The Black Blood Tao Lords didn't have the ability to attack across time, it must have been the Lord of Curses doing. From then on, the Lord of Curses left a mark on Lin Moyu and began monitoring him. If so, the Lord of Curses should know even more. But he couldn't have been watching constantly, or Lin Moyu would have noticed. Even if the Lord of Curses' methods were subtle enough to escape his notice, what about the green-robed old man? Or the discernment beast, Emperor Chen Zhong, and Yuyan, the Lord of Taima? Could so many Eternals have failed to notice, or noticed and not told him? That seemed unlikely. Besides, when Lin Moyu mentioned the Lord of Curses was reviving, the Lord of Curses said he'd heard it from the other Eternals. He didn't know Lin Moyu had learned it from Yuyan, which proved he wasn't watching at every moment. This confirmed the Lord of Curses wasn't monitoring him all the time. Lin Moyu reviewed all the details of his past experiences, organizing everything. In the end, he concluded, the Lord of Curses had indeed chosen him from that moment, and thus knew a lot about him. The main reason for choosing him was likely his origin spell. But what the Lord of Curses knew was only superficial. He didn't know what happened within Lin Moyu's soul world. He only knew what Lin Moyu saw and did, meaning the mark was only on the surface. Once he understood this, Lin Moyu knew exactly what the Lord of Curses had seen and heard. It was a lot, but not everything, not constant surveillance. There were also things he clearly hadn't seen, such as the green-robed old man. I wonder how he would react if he met the green-robed old man, Lin Moyu thought with a cold smile. Power surged through his body as he tried to find the root of the Lord of Curses' surveillance. 3916, 3916. Chapter 3916, Good News, Bad News. Again and again, Lin Moyu searched, but found nothing. This result wasn't surprising. In fact, it was expected. If the mark really was in his body, After dying and being reborn so many times, reduced to dust countless times, any mark should have been erased. But if it wasn't on the surface of his body, where could it be? Everything has a root, and no matter how mysterious the method, the problem's source can be found. After tens of thousands of searches, Lin Moyu was certain there was nothing wrong with his body, nor was there anything wrong within his soul. Little tree resided in his soul world, and if there was anything amiss, it would have been noticed. He had died not just physically, but his soul had shattered many times. Any mark would have been destroyed long ago. His rebirth talent couldn't possibly revive something that didn't belong to him. So, from soul to body, there was no problem. If it's not my own issue, then where is it? He definitely can't be following me around all the time, and he doesn't have the ability of the discernment beast. What the hell? What kind of method is this? Lin Moyu was baffled. With his current knowledge and understanding of the Great Tao, there was little he couldn't comprehend. But this time, he was truly stumped. He couldn't figure it out, and it made his Tao heart uneasy. The feeling of being watched was unpleasant, and if he didn't resolve this, it would be hard to focus on anything else. No one likes being monitored at every turn, especially when the watcher is openly hostile. The Lord of Curses' surveillance was very different from the green-robed old man's, who gave Lin Moyu a sense of mystery and detachment, as if he existed outside this world. The Lord of Curses, on the other hand, wanted Lin Moyu's body for himself, a much more disturbing prospect. Now that he knew, he had to resolve it or he'd never feel at ease. Lin Moyu sat in the void, deep in thought, searching for an answer. The world-burning fire continued to blaze, the black blood realm shrinking as it was refined, but it would still take time to finish. A month later, Lin Moyu suddenly opened his eyes, a sharp light flashing within them. He flipped his hand and took out the karma seed, pouring his soul power into it to activate it. Senior N, I have a request. And Yuyan, the Lord of Karma, no longer needed secluded cultivation. Her cultivation method had changed at this level. So Lin Moyu didn't worry about disturbing her or making her unhappy. Moments later, and Yuyan's slightly lazy voice came from the karma seed. No need to be so polite, Taoist Lin. Please speak. Lin Moyu said, I'd like to trouble Senior and to go to the origin land and carefully check whether there's a mark left by the Lord of Curses on my immortality Great Tao. Would that be possible? There was silence from An Yuyan's end. Lin Moyu didn't know what she was thinking, so he didn't rush her. After several minutes, An Yuyan's voice returned, now with a hint of gravity. Taoist Lin, how did you know someone left a mark on your immortality Great Tao? So it was true. Lin Moyu was shocked. He hadn't expected it to really be on his immortality Great Tao. He'd puzzled over it for so long, unable to find the source, until he suddenly thought of his immortality Great Tao. The immortality Great Tao was unique, he alone possessed it in all the world. If someone tampered with it, then whenever he used it, the other party could potentially monitor him. And since he couldn't enter the origin land, no one would ever discover it. What a clever trick, Lin Moyu muttered. And Yuyan's voice came again. Now, I have good news and bad news. Which would you like to hear first? Lin Moyu was surprised, and Yuyan was usually so dignified, but here she was making jokes. He laughed. Let's hear the good news first. And Yuyan said, judging by the mark left by the Lord of Curses, he's only recovered about 30% of his power. Also, for some reason, he activated the power in that mark, so now it's very weak and will take at least 1,000 years to recover. Only 30%. No wonder he didn't fight Lin Moyu directly. The excuse that Lin Moyu was too weak was just that, an excuse. He simply wasn't confident enough. Now Lin Moyu understood why he had died so suddenly before. It was that mark. The Lord of Curses attacked him through the mark on his immortality Great Tao. The attack came from the Tao itself, which was why it was so strange and impossible to trace. If he'd known, he might have tried to keep the Lord of Curses there. But then again, the Lord of Curses could have escaped through the origin land, just like the God of Light. There was nothing Lin Moyu could have done to stop him. If that was the good news, Lin Moyu thought, the bad news must be much worse. He asked, what's the bad news? And Yuyan replied, there are 3 marks on your immortality Great Tao. The Lord of Curses mark is only one of them. Lin Moyu's mouth twitched. That really is bad news. The Lord of Curses was just one, meaning there were 2 others watching him. Anyone capable of leaving a mark on the immortality Great Tao must be from the origin land, and all of them were eternal beings, far beyond Lin Moyu's current level. He asked, Senior, can you tell who left the other marks? And Yuyan said, that's not hard, their karma is all connected. But if I tell you, Taoist Lin, how will you thank me? Lin Moyu knew that desolate beast essence wouldn't be enough this time. He'd have to pay a real price, fair as fair. Please name your price, senior. And Yuyan said, then please owe me a favor. If I ever need something from you, don't refuse. Lin Moyu replied, as long as it doesn't violate my Tao heart, I naturally won't refuse. And Yuyan chuckled, I'll remember that. As for the other 2 marks, one was left by the Lord of Destruction, the other by the Lord of Destiny. The Lord of Destruction, that was the human emperor. The human emperor was watching him. Lin Moyu didn't recall ever meeting the human emperor. But then he remembered seeing the human emperor seal Emperor Jianmu. At that time, the human emperor must have noticed him, though he showed no sign. Instead, he left a mark on the immortality Great Tao, so the human emperor was aware of some of Lin Moyu's later actions. As for the Lord of Destiny, why was he watching Lin Moyu? Lin Moyu asked, who is the Lord of Destiny? And Yuyan's tone was a bit odd. The Lord of Destiny 2.0 should still be dormant, with no sign of revival. Why he left a mark is strange. The Destiny Great Tao, like the Curse Great Tao, was one of the original Taos born with the origin land. The Lord of Destiny should be as ancient as the Lord of Curses, but he hasn't revived, so the mark must have been left before he went dormant. Lin Moyu hadn't even been born then, so the mark wasn't aimed at him personally, but at any future reincarnation or inheritor of the Lord of Immortality. Regardless of the reason, leaving a mark on the Immortality Great Tao to monitor him was a serious problem. Lin Moyu asked, Senior, is there any way to remove these marks? And Yuyan shook her head. No, that's your Great Tao. I can leave my own mark, but I can't erase someone else's. If you want to remove them, you'll have to find a way yourself. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I just wanted to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to those who donated. It truly means more to me than I can put into words. Your kindness and generosity have helped me navigate some of the financial difficulties I've been facing, and I'm deeply grateful. That said, things are still tough due to the economic situation here. If you're one of the 3,000 people who read this daily and are in a position to contribute, I'd be so thankful for any help you can provide. Of course, there's no pressure. Your support by simply being here is already something I cherish. Special shout out to Anonymous, C. Gave, Roger, JJ, and Alvin for donating. Thanks a bunch. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Also, if anyone wants to join my Discord URL, asterisk 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 3917 3917 Chapter 3917, Power of Faith, Erasing the Marks. And Yuyan stated that she couldn't remove the marks on the Immortality Great Tao. Leaving a mark is easy, but erasing one is difficult. It means contending with the Great Tao itself. Unless Lin Moyu did it himself, since this was his own Tao. The Karma Seed projected an image. In the origin land, the Immortality Great Tao appeared at the center of the scene. The Tao flowed majestically, interweaving gray and white energies. 3 marks floated within the Tao, seemingly weak but in fact extremely resilient, persisting unshakably. And Yuyan said, it's a pity you can't enter the origin land right now, Taoist Lin. Otherwise, erasing these 3 marks would be a breeze. Lin Moyu felt helpless. If he could freely enter and exit the origin land, who would dare leave marks on his Tao? If anyone tried, he'd make sure to settle the score. He observed that all 3 marks were in the white region of the Immortality Great Tao. The white represented the power of life, the gray the power of death. Together, they formed the Immortality Great Tao, life controlling death. All 3 marks are in the area of life force. That must be it. They avoid the power of death, which would erase them. Thinking of how the power of death corrodes and obliterates all, Lin Moyu realized a way to remove the 3 marks. He tried to manipulate the Immortality Great Tao not by drawing it into his hand, but by directly affecting its true body in the origin land. Normally, He wasn't yet at the level to control the true body of a great Tao, but as the only person in existence to wield the immortality great Tao, things were different. He was recognized as the Lord of Immortality and had entered the origin land before, so he had a mysterious connection to the Tao. With unwavering intent, Lin Moyu used his own Tao power to influence the true body of the immortality great Tao. Reverse. He muttered inwardly, attempting to swap the two poles reversing the immortality great Tao. This way, the marks in the region of life would be plunged into the region of death. Even marks left by Eternals would be corroded and erased. That was the idea, but actually doing it was far from easy. It all depended on the strength of his Tao heart. Under Lin Moyu's influence, the previously calm immortality great Tao began to surge, waves rising and falling, the three marks tossed about yet still stubbornly present. And Yuyan seemed to be watching with interest, maintaining the projection so Lin Moyu could observe the origin land in real time. Lin Moyu's Tao heart was resolute. He feared neither heaven nor earth, never believing there was anything he couldn't accomplish. It was just a matter of time. The power of his Tao heart became an invisible hand, beginning to affect the immortality great Tao. A streak of gray appeared in the white area, and a streak of white in the gray area. The powers of life and death began to swap places. It really works. Lin Moyu was overjoyed. He really could do it. As long as his Tao heart was strong enough, he could influence the Tao itself. He pressed on, maintaining his influence. But soon, he began to feel drained. His Tao heart was firm, but the consumption was rapid. Unconsciously, his awareness grew parched, his thoughts hard to focus. The fusion had only just begun, giving up now would be a waste. A formless voice echoed in the myriad worlds, faith. Lin Moyu's words were like a heavenly command. All the countless living beings in the myriad worlds heard it in their souls and instantly knew what to do. Countless people, devout and sincere, knelt, prostrated, stood, or sat. Their postures varied, but without exception, all directed their faith toward Lin Moyu. The faith tokens left behind in the past blazed up, burning away in an instant. The immense power of faith surged into Lin Moyu, like a powerful stimulant for his Tao heart, making it stronger than ever. Lin Moyu's consciousness entered the origin land, driving the dual pole reversal of the immortality great Tao. More and more death power flooded into the region of life, while the region of life spread into where death had been. The process was not quick, and Lin Moyu knew he couldn't rush it. The endless living beings of the myriad worlds provided him with a continuous stream of faith power, allowing him to keep going. No one knew how much time passed, but at last, the powers of life and death fully swapped places. The immortality great Tao remained unchanged, only the regions had shifted. Now the three marks were trapped in the realm dominated by death power. Lin Moyu manipulated the Tao to send up great waves, engulfing all three marks. The power of death began to corrode the marks. Once the erasure started, it wouldn't stop. It was just a matter of time. The corrosion was slow. It would take about half a year to completely erase them. After all, these were marks left by Eternals. Lin Moyu knew he couldn't hurry. And Yuyan's laughter rang out. Impressive, Taoist Lin. You can manipulate the true body of a great Tao even before becoming a Tao Lord. I'm impressed. Lin Moyu felt a bit relieved. You flatter me, senior. I had no other choice. And Yuyan replied, no need for false modesty. To reach this step already proves your strength. But since the Lord of Curses has already acted, he won't let you go easily. You must be careful. Lin Moyu nodded. Thank you for the warning, senior. I will be careful. And Yuyan said, then I wish you luck. When I need your help in the future, I hope you won't refuse. Lin Moyu replied, I keep my word, senior. Once the marks are erased, please let me know. All right. And Yuyan closed the projection, and the karma seed's glow faded. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and looked up. The refining of the 10 black blood realms was almost finished. In 10 days to half a month, it would be done. In truth, he had gained a lot this time. He'd learned how to use the power of faith, thanks to inspiration from the celestial god race. In his myriad worlds, there were countless living beings, and thus endless faith power. With faith as his backing, his combat power would rise another level. With the marks dealt with, it's time to think about how to handle the Lord of Curses. With his own problem solved, Lin Moyu began to analyze his enemy. Know yourself and your enemy, and you'll be prepared when facing the Lord of Curses again. Otherwise, it's too risky. The Lord of Curses cloned so many black blood realms. It can't be just for fun. There must be a reason. These black blood realms, from weak to strong, add up to exactly 1,000. The weaker they are, the filthier they are. As they grow stronger, they become purer. Lin Moyu searched for the similarities and differences among the black blood realms. This was the Lord of Curses doing. It looked like he didn't care, but Lin Moyu didn't believe that. The Lord of Curses wouldn't do anything meaningless. There was a deeper purpose to cloning the black blood realms. That deeper meaning was likely hidden in the contrast between filth and purity. Lin Moyu vividly remembered how filthy the first black blood realm was, not ordinary filth. If there was anywhere in the world filthier, it would be where great Taos intersect, where impurities abound, in the worlds of Tao beasts. At this thought, Lin Moyu's eyes flashed. He seemed to understand. Yes, this must be it. I can't be wrong. 3918, 3918. Chapter 3918, Everything has its cause and effect. The Lord of Curses should have gone to the homeland of the Tao beasts, the place where countless impurities from the convergence of the world's great Taos accumulate. In other words, the dirtiest place in all existence. As for why he went there, the reason is simple: it's for his final step. Of the 8 great Taos that existed at the birth of the origin land, the 8 oldest great Tao lords fell into silence precisely because of that final step. Every great Tao lord has their own final step, and the Lord of Curses went there for his own. The sun ancestral dragon from the origin continent once went to the wasteland, but that was just the place where Tao beasts entered the real world after descending. Compared to the true homeland of the Tao beasts, it's not even a billionth as filthy. Even so, the sun ancestral dragon was affected by the curse and filth carried by the Tao beasts, and ultimately had to flee in defeat. One can imagine just how filthy the true homeland of the Tao beasts must be. The Lord of Curses went there, but instead of taking his final step, he came back tainted with filth. He was forced into silence, and after countless years, finally regained consciousness. All those years of silence couldn't rid him of the filth, but he happened to encounter the Black Blood civilization. The technological path of the Black Blood civilization gave him an idea. So he fused with the Black Blood civilization, becoming its master and eventually fully merging with it. From then on, the Black Blood civilization ceased to exist. There was only the Lord of Curses, and the Black Blood civilization became nothing but his slave. Using the Black Blood civilization's cloning technology, he cloned himself, not his true body, but the fused Black Blood realms. Through repeated cloning, he found a way for the Black Blood realms to bear his filth and thus completely rid himself of it. He succeeded. The cloned Black Blood realms took all his filth with them, finally allowing him to return to purity. Purity is crucial for a great Tao Lord. Only with purity can one maintain true strength. If burdened by filth, even the Lord of Curses' power would be polluted, making full recovery impossible. Now that the filth is gone, the Lord of Curses can truly begin his revival. When he said, "The time is not yet right," he meant that he hadn't fully revived. Purging the filth must have come at a price, likely slowing his recovery. Once he's revived, he'll still need to take that final step, which may require a powerful physical vessel. With this, everything suddenly became clear. After refining those Black Blood realms, Lin Moyu always felt something was off about the resulting world crystals. The main reason was that these crystals contained the ultimate filth from the Tao beast homeland. Even the world-burning fire couldn't fully refine it. If the myriad worlds absorbed these world crystals, the unrefined filth would enter the myriad worlds and become a shackle, making further progress difficult. Lin Moyu thought, the Lord of Curses probably doesn't know this. He only knows I can refine worlds and burn all things, so he thinks I can also refine filth. He's not just after my body, he wants my origin secret arts and the world-burning fire too. His final step should be related to the Tao beast homeland. He wants to obtain the world-burning fire and use it to return there. At last, Lin Moyu understood the whole cause and effect. Everything was clear. The Lord of Curses doesn't have a physical body, his body is actually that sea of blood. The blood sea, while powerful, is also easily polluted, which might be why he failed in the Tao beast homeland. What's really in the Tao beast homeland? Why must his final step be taken there? For now, I'll set that aside. The world-burning fire can indeed refine this filth, but it's not yet strong enough to burn it all away. Once it's powerful enough, I'll re-refine all these world crystals, and then they'll be usable. 1,000 world crystals, regardless of quality, are still a significant harvest. If they can be thoroughly refined, it will be a huge boon for the myriad worlds. Lin Moyu smiled. Though he faced new dangers, he'd also gained greatly, especially a deeper understanding of this world. Everything has its cause and effect. Nothing happens without reason. As long as he holds to this, Lin Moyu believes he can find the answer to every problem. When he truly understands this world and all its ultimate truths, perhaps he will become all-knowing. At that point, eternity will come naturally. The karma between the origin continent, the celestial god realm, and the black blood realm is now fully resolved, leaving only his karma with the god of light and the lord of curses. By rights, when he returns to the origin continent, he should receive a reward from the great Tao. That's the rule, and he can accept it with a clear conscience. But such rewards are meaningless to him, since anything gained can be reclaimed by the will of the world at any time. The 10 black blood realms were finally refined, becoming high-quality world crystals. These 10 crystals also contained filth that hadn't been fully refined, and his instincts told him, don't absorb them. Trusting his instincts, Lin Moyu put them away in his storage, to deal with later. Next, I need to find a way to supply enough energy to the gate and push it as high as possible. But supplementing energy isn't easy. In the myriad worlds, the 4th halo is slowly lighting up. In another 30 to 50 years, it should be fully charged, then it would be time for the 5th. To speed up the process, he needs powers of different attributes. The myriad worlds can gather energy so quickly because it contains enough types of great Tao power. Back then, the Lord of Hell spent tens of thousands of years just to charge the 3rd halo with his own great Tao alone. Lin Moyu thought, the Lord of Hell really had patience almost invincible in that regard. To find more types of power, I need materials with different attributes. The physics great Tao should work too. Let's try the power of technology. Lin Moyu suddenly thought of the physics great Tao. It's very strong. While it doesn't have much power to mobilize on its own, it can change the rules of other Taos. But how to harness the power of the physics great Tao? Lin Moyu left this headache for the celestial god scientists to solve. He turned and left, stepping into the world mist, heading toward the origin continent by following his connection to it. To find rare great Tao materials, wandering aimlessly won't work. The best option is to go to the soul void. In the soul void, there are spirit realms and the Janmu Great Spirit Domain. He hadn't planned to return to the Janmu Great Spirit Domain, but now, to open the gate as soon as possible and perfect the myriad worlds, he had no choice but to go again. Of course, he would make full preparations before going. A few thousand years isn't that long or that short, but it's enough for him to accomplish a lot. Unconsciously, Lin Moyu realized he was no longer afraid of the world will of the origin continent. If not for the true spirit imprint in its hands, he'd be able to kill it outright. In the soul void, Lin Moyu once again left his soul world behind. 3919, 3919. Chapter 3919, A Promise Made Must Be Kept. The soul world had already reached the edge of the origin continent. Due to the restrictions of the world's laws, this was the limit. Before transcending, the soul world could not leave the boundaries of the origin continent. Looking at his soul world pressed tightly against the world barrier, Lin Moyu felt a sense of tearing. In the past, he had divided his internal rules world into 3 parts. The soul world is the core, the upper layer is the rules world, and the lower layer is the skeletal hell. Now, the rules world and skeletal hell had merged into a complete myriad worlds. They could exist independently from the soul world, yet in some hard-to-understand way, still revolved around it. The myriad worlds could only project its influence into this world, not truly appear within it. Meanwhile, the skeletal hell, which corresponded to the myriad worlds, could manifest in this world. The soul world, myriad worlds, and skeletal hell were interdependent, interconnected, yet also existed independently with their own characteristics. This situation gave Lin Moyu a difficult-to-describe sense of being torn apart. Quite interesting. Lin Moyu suddenly smiled, his soul form showing a hint of amusement. This is the path I want to walk, unique and different. As long as I reach the end, I'll surely surpass all who came before. Lin Moyu was confident in his path, his Tao heart was now unbreakable. This trip into the soul void had many goals. Searching for precious materials, hunting Tao beasts, and perhaps even trying for a Tao beast king this time. He also planned to refine void soul pills and visit the Janmu Great Spirit Domain to trade materials with the Lord of the Woodslaughter world. Now, he didn't need to be as cautious as before. Even if the Lord of the Woodslaughter world had bad intentions, he could handle it. With enough undead servants, tens of billions of Tao lords, they were enough to give any world lord a headache. The only pity was that the celestial god civilization's statues couldn't enter the soul void. They were technological creations, incompatible with the soul void. Lin Moyu felt this was perhaps a limitation of technological civilizations. The physics great Tao seemed unable to affect the soul void. If there's a chance, I'd like to visit the Tianzhou Great Spirit Domain, especially those worlds that follow a purely technological path, and see how they fare in the Great Spirit Domain. Besides these matters, he also needed to find the third ancestor and the others. Over the years, the third ancestor and his group had already located various worlds and were just waiting for Lin Moyu to come and clear them. He had promised the third ancestor to help them transcend, and based on the Lord of Hell's previous experience, finding a world to fuse with was the best method after transcendence. Otherwise, after transcending, they would lose half their lives, not only dangerous, but difficult to recover from. With world fusion, recovery would be faster and safer. Lin Moyu sighed that plans never keep up with changes. He'd once hoped the third ancestor and the others could help him after transcending, but time waits for no one. They couldn't help at all, and he still had to rely on himself. Still, a promise made must be kept. He couldn't just cast them aside because they couldn't help him. Lin Moyu wasn't that kind of person. I really am busy, Lin Moyu joked to himself, then reached out mentally to contact Little Python. Moments later, Little Python tore through the void and arrived with a roar, excitement in its voice. Master, you're finally back. I missed you so much. Lin Moyu chuckled, you just missed the pills, didn't you? He tossed 2 void soul pills to it. By now, Little Python was already a first-grade soul. If given an innate void treasure, it could become a small spirit domain lord. Lin Moyu had given it the choice, but Little Python declined, saying it preferred to travel with Lin Moyu and would become a spirit domain lord only when Lin Moyu stopped roaming. Lin Moyu promised that if Little Python ever wanted to transcend, he'd help it find a world. Transcending wasn't the best choice, but for those wanting new experiences, it was an option. On this trip, Lin Moyu stored trillions of undead servants in his storage space, which was like a bottomless pit. No matter how many, it could hold them all. Following the sense left by the skeleton god generals he'd given the third ancestor and others, Lin Moyu sought them out one by one, helping them clear their worlds so that, like Shen Chen, they could transcend when the time came. The nearest was the third ancestor. Little Python sped through the soul void, and in just 5 days, they arrived before the third ancestor, who was meditating in the mist, not far from a world. The third ancestor slowly opened his eyes and looked at Lin Moyu. So you've finally become a Tao Lord. Lin Moyu smiled, isn't that how it should be? After so long cultivating, I couldn't stay in place forever. The third ancestor said quietly, should I take that as you mocking me? Lin Moyu laughed, you're wrong, senior. I only speak for myself, never mocking anyone else. The third ancestor snorted, but then frowned as he looked Lin Moyu over. He sensed something strange about Lin Moyu's aura, different from before. Looking closer, he realized Lin Moyu's great Daos were gone. Where are your Daos? Back then, Lin Moyu had cultivated 6 great Daos at once, astonishing everyone. Now, they were all gone. Lin Moyu replied, I kept only 1 and discarded the other 5. The third ancestor was surprised. Why did you throw them away? Lin Moyu said, each had its own reason, but mainly, those Daos all had limitations. Continuing to cultivate them would be useless, even restrictive, so I let them go. The time and power great Daos had both entered the origin land and had eternal great Tao lords. No matter how much he cultivated, he'd only ever follow in their footsteps, so why bother? The space and fate great Daos hadn't entered the origin land and couldn't achieve eternity, so there was no point in continuing. The 1,000 stars great Tao was special. Lin Moyu merged it into the myriad worlds. Those chosen as star lords by the 1,000 stars great Tao would, upon achieving that status, enter the myriad worlds. They would no longer be Star Lords of the origin continent, but of the myriad worlds. Star Lords were now of no help to Lin Moyu. Even the strongest, fallen sword Star Lord, at his peak, was no match for an undead servant. Still, Lin Moyu felt the 1,000 stars great Tao was not so simple. He hadn't yet discovered its true use. He had his own plans for each of the 5 Daos, but didn't explain in detail to the third ancestor, just gave a general reason. The third ancestor, knowing Lin Moyu well, said, as long as you know what you're doing. So, you're here to help me clear this world? Lin Moyu replied, you found this world by following your Tao, right? The third ancestor nodded, that's right. My balanced great Tao is rare. I thought it would be hard to find a world, but it turned out to be nearby. It's all thanks to your advice on sorting out the Tao that it was so easy. Lin Moyu said, "All right, let's get to it." The third ancestor began, "Do you need me to?" But before he could finish, he saw tens of millions of undead servants appear in the void, each one as strong as himself. For a moment, the third ancestor's mouth twitched, unsure how to express his complicated feelings. 3920, 3920. Chapter 3920, This Old Man Isn't Stupid. The third ancestor's mind was a tangled mess, unable to utter a complete sentence for a long while. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "No need to be so surprised, I've always been like this, haven't I?" Always been like this. These words made the third ancestor's soul body twist with frustration, they were even more of a blow than before. After a while, the third ancestor finally composed himself. "That's right, I really can't compare with a freak like you." Lin Moyu laughed, "Freak, monster, prodigy, you've called me all sorts of things over the years." The third ancestor was blunt, "Isn't it true?" Lin Moyu chuckled, yes, whatever you want to call me is fine." 10 million undead servants, just a drop in the bucket for Lin Moyu, but for this unknown world before them, it was a cataclysm. After experiencing the battle with the celestial god civilization, these small-scale skirmishes were nothing to Lin Moyu. The celestial god civilization was powerful enough to rival any top world. Even the origin continent at its peak, with its world will, was no match. Its only flaw was that it couldn't leave the physics great Tao. If it strayed too far, its strength would plummet or even vanish. The god of light probably never imagined the celestial god civilization would develop to such heights. Lin Moyu even thought that, given enough time, the celestial god civilization could have challenged the god of light. Now, 10 million undead servants surged into the world not to destroy it, but to hunt down and kill all the Tao Lords. As for those below Tao Lord, Lin Moyu left them untouched. Once the third ancestor took over, these beings would become the foundation for his recovery. Lin Moyu's understanding of worlds now far surpassed most people. Even top world lords might not match him. This was a one-sided slaughter. The Tao Lords in the world were all slain by the undead servants, along with any great Tao cultivators who came with them. None escaped. Lin Moyu's principle was, "Since you're here, you're not leaving." For the Tao Lords and some great Tao cultivators, this was a day of apocalypse. For most ordinary beings, it had no effect. Only the repeated wails of heaven and earth at each Tao Lord's fall could shake the hearts of the living. Some were terrified, some fearful, some chilled to the bone. But in the end, it would all pass, and nothing would change for ordinary people. Lin Moyu and the third ancestor chatted outside the world, laughing and talking. Lin Moyu recounted some events that happened after the great upheaval in the origin continent was finally resolved. When the third ancestor heard that Lin Moyu had called on the emperor to force the origin continent's world will back into slumber, he was deeply shocked. The third ancestor said quietly, "I never imagined that as soon as it revived, it would start a sacrifice. No wonder I felt a sense of danger at the time. That's what it was." Lin Moyu replied, "It had waited too long, now it wouldn't wait even one more day. Fortunately, I made preparations in advance, so even if it didn't want to wait, it had to." The third ancestor said, "Now I get it. Whoever becomes your enemy is doomed to tragedy. Sooner or later, you'll outmaneuver them." Lin Moyu laughed, "Don't say that. Doing whatever it takes against enemies is normal, isn't it? Besides, I didn't do anything special, just acted in self-defense. It's like the Tao Lords in this world. We have no personal grudges, but for our own benefit, we kill them anyway. So there's no real right or wrong, just how to get what you need. In the process, many things are abandoned, and many people sacrificed." The third ancestor snorted, "Survival of the fittest." Those 4 words summed up the laws of the world. This world is cruel. Goodness only exists in small pockets under the shadow of cruelty. The two entered the world. In less than half a day, all the Tao Lords were dead. Some great Tao cultivators died as well, the rest had gone into hiding. It didn't take much effort for Lin Moyu to find the world's source core. He summoned a 5 elements giant and used an innate void treasure to disperse the mist covering the core. Examining the core, Lin Moyu smiled, "You picked a good world. It's already nurturing a spirit. With a bit more time, it might have taken form." The third ancestor asked, "Will that affect things?" Lin Moyu replied, "I'll take care of it. It's no problem." He flicked a ball of world-burning fire into the world's source core. In the real world, the world-burning fire could refine entire worlds. In the soul void, it could burn the world's core directly. A faint scream echoed from the core, making the third ancestor's soul shudder, as if the whole world were wailing. Amid the screams, there was a sound like shattering glass, and Lin Moyu withdrew the world-burning fire. All done. The spirit failed to form. This world won't nurture another for a long time. World spirits are the collective will of all beings, requiring a long time and some luck to appear. Now that Lin Moyu had burned it away, it wouldn't happen again for at least 1,000,000 years. That was plenty of time by then. Either the third ancestor would fail and be sacrificed, or he'd succeed and take over the world. Lin Moyu began setting up an array to seal the world's source core. Stay here and guard it. No one should dare bother you. I'll leave 100 undead servants as backup. The third ancestor asked, what about the karma? Killing Dao lords, burning the core, but leaving the world alive. Lin Moyu had created a huge karmic tie to this world. Lin Moyu replied, no problem. For now, I'll bear the karma. Once you transcend and become the world's master, it'll be resolved. Unless you want to settle scores with me, then in which case, I'll have to go along with it. The third ancestor snorted, I'm not stupid. Only a fool would try to settle karma with you. There are better ways to die. With a laugh, Lin Moyu finished setting up the array. The formation suppressed the world's source core, and Lin Moyu had the third ancestor inject his aura into the array and the core. That way, the core would be tainted with the third ancestor's aura, making transcendence easier. This was like boiling a frog in warm water, a method Lin Moyu had figured out after dealing with so many worlds. When all was done, Lin Moyu clapped his hands. Done. Time to head to the next stop. The third ancestor asked, who's next? Lin Moyu sensed the direction. Senior Wenchen is closest, should be there in a day or so. The third ancestor said, go on. I'll guard things here and wait for your good news. There will be good news. Lin Moyu nodded, mounted Little Python, and left. Following his senses, Little Python sped through layers of mist, leaving the small spirit domain and passing through a vacuum zone. Now, Little Python was fearless with Lin Moyu around. There was nothing to fear. 2 days later, Lin Moyu's expression suddenly changed. Little Python, speed up, we need to hurry. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I just wanted to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to those who donated. It truly means more to me than I can put into words. Your kindness and generosity have helped me navigate some of the financial difficulties I've been facing, and I'm deeply grateful. That said, things are still tough due to the economic situation here. If you're one of the 3,000 people who read this daily and are in a position to contribute, I'd be so thankful for any help you can provide. Of course, there's no pressure. Your support by simply being here is already something I cherish. Special shout out to Terrestrian, El Matic, who is who, for donating. Thanks a bunch. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Also, if anyone wants to join my Discord URL, asterisk 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 asterisk.